What's up, everybody? This is the Atlanta YouTuber Takeover. If you don't realize it, we're going. Jordan Ghastly is an Atlanta
Hi.
YouTuber. As crazy and spooky as we are, get on his channel immediately. What's up, Jordan?
Not a whole lot, man. How are you?
I'm good. I am good.
Excellent.
I'm ready to do this.
Thanks for inviting me on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, us locals got to stick together, right? I mean, that's what it is.
I know, right?
It's just, look, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, it is shoot, especially out here in Atlanta. Go figure, one of the cities where you figure YouTube would be big, and it's not.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing the YouTube thing for about 3 years now, and I've met one, maybe two other vloggers from the area who I don't think they vlog anymore. I don't know if they're just taking a hiatus or anything, but I feel like I would just run into more people doing it. Especially like when the weather's nice and everyone's out and about. I mean, obviously, current situation, not everybody's run into a lot of places, but you know, the last 6 weeks aside, I kind of really surprised that
we know him
that they haven't no more. Yeah, that's my buddy Joel the Geek, man. I love Joel.
Yep.
He's awesome. Actually, his new name is ASAP Wizard. If you're not hip to the jive, Joel is now ASAP Wizard.
Awesome. Oh, I mean, 3 years. How have you and I really never run into each other?
I have zero idea because I remember the day that we started talking on social media. We have vlogged to the same places. Just at two completely different times.
Yes. Let's see, like, especially the fact when I'm with the 501st and the Rebel Legion. Like, I've done many Dragon Cons and MomoCon and, you know, Atlanta Comic Con. So it's like we not actually run into each other here. But we run into each other now, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. And it's really funny because I know that we were just talking about how we don't really run into a lot of other YouTubers, but with as big as Atlanta is, it's still kind of small, right? So the fact that we haven't literally bumped into each other when we were physically at the same places is just mesmerizing or just like mind-blowing to me. Speaking of Dragon Con, like I've gone to Dragon Con, I think it's been like 13 years in a row. And I actually just got word today, like I got an email today, and they offered me an attending professional slot to talk on some panels.
Really?
So I accepted that with a quickness. So
I'm talking on.
So I haven't figured that out yet, but I'll go ahead. We'll just dive right into it. You want to dive into it, Danny? We'll dive into it right now. So the Ghastly moniker.
Sure. Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You finish.
Second Dragon Con, but it was at the same time I was going to go to Disney, which was that big hurricane. So I kind of skipped Dragon Con, but the year before, we were were there in Atlanta that year. So
Mm-hmm.
I've done New York Comic Con so many times, and it's kind of the same principle as Dragon Con. Um, but I don't know if you remember that was in the parade at all.
I recollect a little bit. This is my cat Stella. She wants to say hi. So.
Yeah, hi. I that helped out with that. So
Oh, nice, nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, Dragon Con definitely has a grasp on me. But you having a panel, that is awesome, dude.
yeah. So the name Ghastly actually comes from my love of ghost stories. Growing
Okay.
up, I've loved tons, like whether it's local folklore, whether it's local urban legends, or whether it's just a fictitious ghost story.
Yeah.
Actually, M.R. James is one of my favorite ghost story authors. Late Victorian era, like 1880s, 1890s. Anyway, um, I also, but because I have a love of ghost stories, I have a love of uh, the paranormal in
Yes.
what you and I would now call the paranormal today. And I was on a team for about 10 years. We actually just recently kind of disbanded. We're not disbanded, but we're on a hiatus. And I've been
Okay.
investigating for about 10 years now. And I've been fortunate enough the last 6 or 7 years at Dragon Con, they've asked us to present panels on the paranormal.
That's awesome.
And normally I'm with my team, but this year I decided to apply solo because the team just isn't doing anything, and I'm kind of scared
Okay.
and excited because I haven't done anything like this on my own.
Right.
My only saving grace is that my friend Heather, who was on the team, she actually just recently wrote a book, and she just got accepted too. So I think we're going to be on a
Okay.
lot of panels together. So
There you go. That a buddy system's always a good thing.
yeah, I'm simultaneously
I didn't
excited and
even
terrified.
realize Dragon Con did paranormal stuff. Honestly.
So that is actually a big thing because I used to have this huge paranormal track, especially with the
Mm-hmm.
the guys who were on TV. So like your Jason Hawes's, your Grant Wilsons, all your Ghost Hunter guys, or maybe all your Ghost Brother guys, or like your Josh Gateses. Like they would have panels for them, but they would be a huge draw because they were on television. But the paranormal trek itself started to get smaller and smaller, and those guys started to not come as often. So they started to turn to a lot of local paranormal investigators because it's essentially it's they don't have to pay them anything. Like when you get accepted, you get a weekend badge and you get to speak for an hour on something you're interested in. So it's
Right.
they don't have to pay the attending professionals like they have to pay the TV guests.
Right.
So
So see, somebody once Dragon Con never gave out free badges,
mm,
and I thought that
they're
was
very selective.
bizarre. Yeah.
They don't give
I
out
know,
media badges very
which
easily.
we don't get any 501st badges at all. I'll tell you that. Any
Mm-mm.
501st member has to pay to get into Dragon Con because it's a fan
Yeah,
convention. So
yeah. I know when you're either like an attending professional or a guest, then you get some kind of compensation. I can definitely tell you as an attending professional, like the only compensation I get is the weekend badge, which I was going to pay to go to Dragon Con anyway. So if you're throwing a free badge at me, I will gladly accept it. And then if you need me to work an hour, 2 hours a day talking about ghosts and spirits and the theories thereof, sold. So
exactly. Shoot, I mean, I'd love to find a way to get a badge like that myself. Honestly, and it's not
yeah,
easy. Like
no,
I mean,
media
you
is
don't
super
see
hard.
a
Like I
member
feel like
out
you've
there.
got to be. Yeah, I'd love to get a media badge for
I
Dragon Con. Yeah,
I looked at their media credentials and all. Like, if we don't invite you, don't even bother trying. I was like, wow. Like,
yeah.
I was like, all right, not a
And
problem.
you know who else?
To
I
cover it
think.
for your channel,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Uh, um, I tried to get media for the YouTube page for the vlog with the Atlanta Comic Con last year, and I emailed them and I never heard back. So I think that was just like a meh. And on one hand, I get
Right.
it. It's like, man, how many people like me have a YouTube page or like, hey, why don't you let me in? Like, and I'm like, whatever. If
Yeah.
like they're probably just sick
Yeah.
and tired of answering that question. So
I mean, what you got to do is what I've been finding is start with the smaller conventions, like like we convention here in Atlanta. Okay, like we covered it. We had media passes for that.
I want to talk to you about that because
It's
I knew that you guys were going to be there, and I actually drove up to see if I could find you guys out of a crowd.
yeah, and it was just a weird crowd. It was fun. Weird crowd.
Did you
I honestly
see
purposely went to we went purposely went just to talk to Pigeon Forge, and that was basically it.
Oh man,
I'm
God, I
like,
still need to get out to Pigeon Forge.
I do too. I do too.
Did you stay for and I didn't realize that he was in town speaking for this, but did you watch the Josh Gates panel? Were you there for that?
We were there for one of them, yeah.
Okay. Um I met Josh Gates years ago because we did a convention. It was actually the first convention that we were asked to get as a team. The paranormal team I was on was called Paranormal Georgia
Right.
Investigations, or PGI for short. And he was the
Right.
keynote speaker that year, and he was seated across from us, so we would always like chat back and forth, and he's a super nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that night that night we were all just kind of hanging around. We are like, hey, let's go up to the bar for a couple of drinks. And he was a super nice guy, and I haven't been able to see him for a handful of years, so I don't know if he remembers me or not, but um but he was super nice.
Yeah. No, he was. He actually saw us. We had media passes, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "I'm like, what's He was kind of like trying to get out of the floor, so I wasn't gonna stop him and be like, "Hey, how are you?" Because we're not like that. We're not like yeah, we like certain people. You're a person. You may got to go to the bathroom. I don't know what you're going through. So yeah. But no, he was cool. He gave an interesting, lecture and everything there, and I was like, all right. Unfortunately, I got so involved, I didn't record it. So that's how he is. He
I
kind
mean,
of sucks you in.
yeah, that's I mean that's just the product of one, a good speaker, and two, a good topic that in which he's speaking on, or they are speaking on, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. But do you really think we're gonna have Dragon Con this year, though? The way things are going.
Man, fingers crossed. I saw today, and I know that this has to do with conventions, but I saw that Universal Studios pushed out their
Yeah, I saw
closure
that.
to May 31st,
Yep.
and I'm sure Disney is going to follow suit very shortly. Man, I don't know. Like I hope.
Well, Disney already put it as until further notice. They're not
Oh, really?
until further notice. Yeah.
Well, that's
Which
the way to keep
again,
it open ended, right?
there's two conventions coming up for us here really soon. Like, all right, and I applied for media for MomoCon. I have heard nothing back from MomoCon.
Oh, really? No,
So you
Jess.
got to remember,
I'm actually. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. There's a little bit of a
I was
lag,
gonna
so
say
if
MomoCon's
I
in
sound
May.
like I interrupt you, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's fine.
um,
MomoCon's in May, so
my friend Jess actually runs MomoCon,
really,
and I actually, yeah, Jess Merriman, she's super awesome. She puts on a really
okay,
good convention too. MomoCon is great.
awesome.
And I I'm fairly certain. Let me, I don't. Let me fact check this. Let me just double check and make sure. But I think that they had posted that they are canceling for this year. Yeah, yeah. If you go to their
Okay.
Instagram page, it's their
Okay.
recent post, and they're
I
canceling it
was
and
looking at
pushing it
their
out to
main web
2021.
page. Their main web page. I didn't see. I was like, all right, what's going on with that?
MomoCon is such a great convention. It's really fun. I'm really bummed I didn't get to go last year. I was looking forward to going this year.
Yeah. We were there last year. Um, we were there a lot last year. I was there 2 in the morning playing video games and yeah, like waiting. Wait, the rave was just letting out, and honestly, it was good. But last year was nuts. The amount of stuff that was happening at MomoCon last year was just insane. Like that MomoCon fans are crazy as it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Almost as bad as Dragon Cons, but PD was coming in. They were like, you can't write on the floor with chalk and this and that. The things I heard about coming out of the rave, oh my gosh. I'm like,
That doesn't surprise me.
just playing these games. It's
just, just I'm trying to shoot my space aliens in Galaga. Get off
just playing
my.
pinball and that's it. I'm like, all right. Trying to play some weird Japanese games. I have no idea what the words are saying to me, you know?
Man, the last time we
But
were at MomoCon a couple years ago, I really wanted to try one of those the arcade pod machines where it's like you're piloting a giant mech. But the lines were
yes.
so long, and I'm like, man, I'm not waiting an hour for six
Yeah.
minutes in a pod.
No. No. So last we actually met Patrick Warburton.
Oh, nice.
So fun story is Patrick Warburton. Let's back up a little more. Is Jess's uncle, who lives up by Nashville, made a movie called Animal Crackers. Patrick
Okay.
is in the movie. So we had sent to us a book of the art from the movie from him, and we actually gave it to him, and he like, my God, how did you get this? And we explained who we were, and yeah, that was
That's awesome.
yeah,
It's always like a really good story, especially like when you have a personal connection to something like that. 'Cause I think you also like leave a mark on the person you're meeting too, because like that's
yep,
it's one thing. It's like, hey, here's $50. Can I get your autograph? But it's like, hey, this is a thing that you worked on, and that so and so that I know did this.
yep,
It's just an awesome story.
yep. Almost as good. I'm gonna get Tony Phantasmic Chronicles. He knows what I'm gonna say. Is almost as good as me being in Hershey Park and hanging out with the Foo Fighters all day.
Uh, oh, that's awesome. That's a story. I want to hear that.
Yeah. So I'm at Hershey Park and we're there with my parents and my little sister. This Disney meet and greet video that we did with my sister in it. So she has Down syndrome, and we were trying to get on one of the newer rides. So we had the access passes we were getting on,
Hmm?
and it happened to be, you know, I had one because it just kind of fell within the number within the group that we were in, and they were like, attendant, well, do you know who we are? The guy was like, no. He turned around to me. He's like, do you know who we are? I was like, yeah, you're the Foo Fighters. They're like, can you what is who we are? I was like, what's going on? And they're like, we're trying to get on this ride. I go, guess what? You're with me. They're like, wait. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get you on the ride. Come on. They're like, what? What? So from there, just hung out with them all day, getting them on rides and everything, and yeah, it was a
That's
lot of fun.
awesome. That's a really cool
Backstage,
story.
get to the Warp Tour because the Warp Tour was going on at the same time, and yeah, Tony hates
Nice.
it when I tell this story.
No, that's a great story.
Yeah, yeah. And me living in New York for all my life, you would figure I'll have more stories like that, but no, keep to ourselves up there because you see celebrities all the time coming in for Saturday Night Live or whatever interview that they're doing. And you just leave them alone in the street. Just let them be. The
Yeah,
tour, not locals. It's like here in Atlanta, though.
I
I
can.
mean, you see them all the time here too.
Yeah, I actually bumped into John Cena a few months ago at my main job.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
well, it was really funny too. So I the my main place of employment is in the Buckhead area of Atlanta.
Okay.
It's got a sandwich shop and a coffee shop in it. Um, and normally, whenever I get out of work, I go run up to the sandwich shop just to see what they have. And my buddy Tyler came with me, who I work with.
Okay.
And we were standing in line waiting for the sandwich, and he turns around and he turns back to me and he goes, "Hey, John Cena's in line behind us." And I, I I heard him, but I made sure I heard what he said. I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" He goes, "John Cena's in line behind us." So I turn around, and I'm not. This is not part
It's
of
like don't
his shtick.
bullshit me. Like
I literally don't see him. I turn, but like I play it cool, right? I play it cool. Like I give it one of the old
like what's behind me?
and I turn it, yeah, yeah, and I'm like, dude, I don't see him. And then he goes, oh, haha, because John Cena's thing is you can't see me. And I'm like, no, like I literally can't. I literally, where is he? And he's like, he's behind us. And then somebody who was standing in front of him just moves out of the way. And then I see this very curious looking John Cena just looking all over the cafe. And
That's
he finds the
awesome.
coffee line. So he goes to the coffee line. I grab my sandwich and I'm like, man, I'm never gonna bump into John Cena ever again. I'm gonna go say hi. So I wait till he orders and I say, excuse me, Mr. Cena, just hey, just big fan. I just want to say thanks for everything that you've done. Really awesome, and
Right.
keep doing what you're doing. And he was super cool. I didn't ask for a picture. I didn't ask for an autograph. Um, and before we left, he shook my hand and he said, "You can't see the one." He shook my hand and he was like, "Hey, thanks for stopping and saying hi." So I'm like, "John Cena, you're just a good guy all around." It's a good guy, John Cena.
Exactly. Exactly. Some of them love it. Like I know. Shoot, when I'm out and people really, they're like, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, but it's like some of them just love it. Like they love the attention. That's why some of them are doing this. Obviously, you're right. But some of them are just like,
Hmm.
ugh. I remember Jess was telling me a story once about how she ran into Christopher Lloyd in the city. He was on the other side of the street coming out, and like they made eye contact, and he kind of gave that look like, no, please don't, not now, not in the mood, please don't. And she just kind of just gave one of these. He gave one next scene, they parted ways.
Hey, sometimes it's all it takes.
Oh, exactly,
And then
exactly.
that taxi took off at 88 miles an hour.
Now, if the taxi driver's name was Marty, that would be even better.
Could be. Who knows? We weren't there. We don't know.
It is in New York City, so you never know.
So you said
Oh,
you were looking forward to MomoCon, which is unfortunately going isn't going to happen this year. What other
no.
big convention were you looking forward to this summer?
Southern Fried Gaming.
I've not done that yet.
I haven't either, but from what I'm hearing, it's fun. And I don't.
The the I think that last year it happened the same weekend as Atlanta Comic Con,
I think so.
and I was thinking about swapping because I did Atlanta Comic Con last year, and I was
Yeah.
thinking about doing Southern Fried Gaming this year if it's the same weekend again.
I don't is. But I'm not 1,000% sure. Honestly, Atlanta Comic Con really didn't spike an interest in me. It was like, all right, it's in con. I know that they moved to the newer hall and everything this year or supposed to be this year. June.
It was August. It was the end of July last year, but I think it's actually going to be in August, the beginning of August this year.
I think
And I did,
think yeah,
I
it's
did the
weekend.
last
I
2 years.
Southern Friday I think is in July.
Okay, so I might have to hit up Southern Fried this year if it happens. Um,
Yeah.
but I did the first year of Atlanta Comic Con. It was all right. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't think it was worth the $35 to get into for the day. And then the next year, my buddy was really excited to go on a Saturday, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll go. Maybe on a Saturday. I think the year prior I did a Friday, so I'm like, I'll see if the vibe is different on Saturday, and it was a little bit better. Again, I still think it was a little too much just for what I got for the day because at that point you're just like, hey, pay us money so you can buy more stuff. You're essentially paying money to
Exactly.
spend money. And
It's really what it
if it
is.
was,
That's any con
yeah,
though. I mean, really.
I mean, at least and I say this fully understanding that Dragon Con is 27, 30 years deep into the game and slowly has grown to the capacity it is. But I feel like at least with Dragon Con, with what I do pay for a weekend pass, I have so many more options. I can go to a gaming, and I'm not saying that Atlanta Comic Con doesn't have
Right.
these things, but they're just so much smaller, and I just feel like I'm not getting my money's worth, so to speak. And that's not,
And
and I
realistically,
don't want to sit here and sound like I'm like talking bad on Atlanta Comic Con. I still enjoyed myself, but I
right.
feel like a couple years you got to step up your game now.
Exactly. But and also the cool thing with Dragon Con is unlike the other cons that, they video game floors open all night long. Dragon Con has something going on 24 hours a day for 4 days straight. So,
Yeah,
you can catch you can catch the labyrinth ball. You can catch the last party on Elderon and stuff, which is an amazing. Have you done that
that
one?
was a yeah. We went 1 year. That was a yeah. That was I think we
Oh
did
man, crazy.
like 3 or 4 years ago. It was super fun. It was super fun. We stayed out there, and then I know that if you're a Firefly fan, they do the Shindig. I think on Saturday or Sunday night. I can't remember which night. I think it switches depending on the year.
How about the running of the T Rexes on the first night? Really? Oh man, that is so funny to watch. Run up and down Peachtree Street,
Yep.
Rex, a costume. So funny, so funny.
My favorite thing about Dragon Con, aside from all of the nerdy stuff, is that it's because it's held every Labor Day weekend. There's three different things going on in Atlanta. Joel, it is insane, and you need to come. Um, it's
Nuts.
it's Atlanta has 3 or 4 different events going on that weekend. So it's Dragon Con, which let's be generous and say it brings about 70,000 people all weekend, or 70,000 attendees for Dragon Con, because that is a real number. Like it could go up, could go down. But let's just call it at about 70,000. It's also
Yep.
college football kickoff, which I Jess.
Hi, Jess.
But it's also college football kickoff, which takes place in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which brings all of the out-of-town college football fans. Like, especially if your team is playing, you're going to come to that game.
That and
It's
then you
also
have the
Black Gay
whole
Pride.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. So much going on. So much that weekend, and it's one of the hottest weekends in Atlanta.
Yes. There was one
Walking even
magical
that
weekend.
walk that parade route. Oh
Dude,
my gosh.
I don't know how you do it because I would give up. I'm like, no, I'm going inside.
First of all, Jess was dressed in a Jawa that first year that we were actually went. She was dancing, a dancing Jawa. She was in front of the sandcrawler in a Jawa outfit dancing in that heat. We had Jawas dropping out of that parade, just soaking wet, dehydrated. They were the ones I felt bad for. Me, I was walking down. I had to watch the sandcrawler coming down the street, directing this thing down. We got to the parking lot at like 5 o'clock in the morning to set the sandcrawler up, just to get it positioned in the lineup. And that morning in August was hot to put up
Yeah.
boards on the side of this bus.
Yeah. There was, I think it was about 2012, 2013. There was this one magical weekend where it was like 70 and cool and
Yes.
breezy. But the
Yes.
reason it was 70 and cool and breezy was because there was a hurricane off the coast of South Carolina. So it wasn't that great for South Carolina. However, here in the city, it was actually quite nice.
Yeah.
So I don't wish a
It's like
hurricane
last
on
year when
anybody. I'm from South Louisiana, so
hurricane
those things
comes
are messy.
through. That big one that came through is to the humidity, and it's nice up here in Atlanta. I'm like, man,
Yeah,
Florida was brutal for that hurricane. I'll tell you. And we only had 1 hour of rain at 2 o'clock.
nice,
Get on.
nice.
Smuggler's Run as a walk-on was great.
That that's a good feeling. When we went about 2 months ago,
Yeah.
we did wait in line, but the wait times were greatly exaggerated. Like there was like 45-minute wait for Smuggler's Run. I'd be shocked if we waited longer than 20.
Yeah. It's Disney's times though that they do that. I wish other theme parks would, but Disney is known for that.
Well, we also have the fortune of Smuggler's Run being a people eater, right? There's always a group constantly going in and getting off and loading and
Yes.
unloading. So
Which I found really upsetting because I wanted to enjoy more holding area for the Falcon. I got up there and I
yeah,
couldn't enjoy it as much. But I had the first experience on the Falcon was actually here in Atlanta.
oh, did you go to the Falcon at the SunTrust Stadium?
I I
Because
did.
that's another place that we
I
both went to and
outfitted and
probably
everything.
vlogged.
I had my Jedi outfit on and everything.
Nice.
I went there for we
I
had
thought that
the
was a
night.
pretty cool setup.
Oh, it was awesome setup. I honestly would compare it to Disney's, but then again, it was a Luke traveling prop, so it
Hmm.
was going to be legit. So, um, it was a little too much more lighting in one than they're actually in Disney's. So that was the only difference I saw.
Well, it was two different eras of Falcon, right? So, like the Falcon that we got was Solo era when it was owned by Lando,
Yes,
and then of course, the one in Disney is sequel trilogy era.
yes, but who
Yeah,
cares? It was the Falcon. It
yeah, I was in it. I was into it,
it was
man.
like like because with the 501st we did the Braves that down there for Star Wars night,
Hmm.
and then I actually met an old first Rebel Legion member who was actually down here for the Doctor Who con, but she heard that the Falcon was here. She calls me and you have to come and get me. I was like, all right. Like if I say like Princess Leia, like she looked like Carrie Fisher, like she, her
Okay.
legit. And we went. I picked her up. She comes out of her whole Hoth outfit. I was like, all right, thank God I have the in the car still from last night. We're doing this.
Nice.
Putting the outfit on in the middle of the parking lot over there, and people looking at me like, I'm like, what?
Haven't you ever seen a Jedi get ready before?
Yeah, exactly. Like, haven't you seen a cosplayer get dressed anywhere before? We don't.
However, living where we are when it's not Dragon Con, there's a very good chance that they haven't seen a cosplayer get ready. So, eh.
This is true. This is very true. Man, I'm so upset that they tore down that hotel that you were showing.
Oh, yeah, that's actually one of my favorite videos that I've made. That it was actually a recording studio
Yeah.
on 124 Nassau Street here in Atlanta. It's have you been you've seen a concert at the Tabernacle, right?
Yes.
Or do you know where the Tabernacle is? Yeah. So it's literally right behind the Tabernacle.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the reason that it's very significant, and a little bit more background on me. I have a degree in history, and I have a certificate in public history, and I have a minor in classical studies. So my in life career is a historian, and the building itself is really significant because it was the South's first recording studio. I know that kind of harkening back a couple nights ago, whenever I was commenting on the live stream, we were all talking about different bands and music, and Stevie Wonder. I want you to know I went and listened to Stevie Wonder the next day after that live stream.
That's great.
All right, so the what's really interesting about this building, which unfortunately is no longer there, is that it was the South's first recording studio. The one of the major higher ups at the OK Record Company up in New York saw that there was a bunch of really good talent in the South, right? And at that point in time, like the South has a lot of great culture, arts, and music. However, unfortunately, at the time, in the context, and in the area, it's also steeped in a lot of racism. And
Right.
the guys up in New York were like, "Hey, we just want to put out records." So they came, they brought down recording equipment, which in 1920s was not an easy feat. Like these recording machines were big, bulky, they weighed a lot, you needed weights, you had to cut directly to it wasn't even a vinyl record at the time. You had to cut it directly to like an acetate, or like I have the materials escaping me at the moment, but it wasn't even a 45 or a 33, it was a 78. It almost had like a slate feeling to it. Anyway, so they come down and they actually record a slew of different artists: Southern artists, white artists, black artists, country music, blues, jazz, the whole thing. There's one guy that they recorded named Fiddlin' John Carson. Now, Fiddlin' John Carson, as a person, is very problematic because he was very anti-Semitic. He was very racist. He did take place or take part in a lot of KKK rallies up at the top of Stone Mountain. But the double-edged sword, the catch-22, right, of course, which Stone Mountain is where the KKK was reborn after Birth of the Nation came out in 1915 anyway, right? That's a whole other thing.
Not that far from, so.
Yeah. So Fiddlin' John Carson, though, wrote a song called Little Log Cabin on the Lane. And whenever he was invited to go to these recording studios, that is the song he decided to record. Now, with as problematic as Fiddlin' John Carson is, his song is very significant because that is the first country #1 hit. It's not the first country song. It's not the first country melody or tune. It's the first country song recorded that became a #1 hit. And it was just selling out off of shelves. And of course, you couldn't buy records. There were no music stores. The concept didn't exist, right? So when you bought records, you bought them at furniture stores because you bought the record players at furniture stores. And his song became such a hit that everybody nationally started to look at the South as a means for music and art. So like a lot more bluesmen started to get recorded, a lot more jazz started to get recognized, and a lot more folk and Appalachian music started to get recognized. And up until that point, Atlanta was this funnel for northern music and arts to go south. but because that record was such a big hit, it turned that funnel upside down. So everybody is funneling music up north, right? So that's when we get the big blues bang. That's when we get the big jazz bang. That's when we get
Yeah.
a lot of these folk artists. And I was really, really hoping that they would fill or they would save this building, because the building itself is significant, because had that song not been recorded there, or had that not song been recorded at all, then we probably wouldn't have all of the great music we have today. And I'm not saying like it's like a what if, right? It's we don't know what would have happened. We know that this happened in this series of events, but because that song, even though the guy who wrote it and sang it was problematic, it's a significant song. I'm
Right.
very sorry. I just went on a very big tangent and rant about why
No,
this
no,
building
that's
should have
fine.
been saved.
That's fine.
Um,
Because I love that too, and Jess and I like to dig into things, and we were actually looking to dig into more of that kind of stuff in the area and wherever. Not
so
so
the
much
big
as
kicker,
documentary, but just to show what's around,
yeah,
you know.
the big kicker about that building is whenever I filmed it, it was already half destroyed and there was a stop work order. So the irony of all of this is that it was being torn down because they're currently going to build a Margaritaville resort hotel there in the
Like
middle
we
of
need another
downtown
one down
Atlanta.
here.
Right. Well, first off, like a Margaritaville in Atlanta, like what? Who are we? The Florida Keys? Like, there's already one by Lake Lanier. Like, who needs
I
that in
was just
downtown
going to
Atlanta?
say that. Like we need it. I mean, and then there's
Right.
one up in Pigeon Forge also.
So the irony of tearing down the first recording studio that gave country music its first number one hit is because of a Margaritaville, which the entire company is owned by Jimmy Buffett, a country artist, who also, I found out, has a degree in history.
Oh God.
So I have
Really?
no idea. Like, and you know what? There's a very good chance. I do not know the ins and outs of his involvement with Margaritavilles and where they get placed. I there's a very good chance that he has no say in it, right? But I do think that it's very ironic that the South's first
Yeah.
recording studio was destroyed because a musician wants to build his hotel and bar there.
Yeah. Uh, wow. Wow. So,
So
poetry thing. Have you been to the birthplace of the Song of the South?
I have not.
I haven't yet. I'm
That's the
trying to get there myself.
it's the crow's nest, right?
Yeah,
The
it's right outside of Atlanta, basically between Atlanta and Six Flags, right there. 20.
yeah, let me because I can't remember the author's name. The crows. Let me Google it real quick. There's some real time
No.
fact checking. I don't want to give
Ex-
I don't want to
exactly.
give false information. Um, it's the guy who wrote the Uncle Remus story, or
Yes.
he appropriated the Uncle Remus folk tales, and then Joel Chandler Harris, that's his name, and which that book itself is also still kind of well, Joel Chandler Harris is also quite problematic because he purposefully writes in the vernacular of enslaved people at the time, and it
Of
doesn't
their
portray
stories, yeah.
right, and it doesn't portray enslaved people in a good light because he writes in the dialect purposefully trying to make them sound lesser than, when he could have just easily written down what he knew they were saying. Um,
Yeah.
but I do want to go because that place, the home of Joel Chandler Harris, is allegedly haunted as well.
That's what I was hearing too. That's what I was hearing.
So
And I hear the
I've
grounds are
not
really
been.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. I wanna go. So bad. There's a lot of historic places that I've surprisingly not been to in the Atlanta area, and
There's a
I was
lot
hoping.
of haunted history in Atlanta. It's what I've
Mhm.
been coming across. Everywhere you
Yeah.
go seems to
Have
have
you
something haunted.
have you heard of like? Does is there any one story of like haunted Atlanta that sticks out in your mind?
The Six Flags ones right now. There's that, and then
The
there's also the tunnel. There's the tunnel. It used to be the train tracks that used to go from Atlanta up to Tennessee. There's that.
Mhm. Those are. Are
Yeah,
you talking about the? Are you talking about the train tracks that run through Marietta up to Tennessee?
I believe so. There's supposed to be a tunnel over there. It's supposed to be like creepy as all heck.
Huh. I'll have to look into that. But if it's
Yeah.
that same train set of train tracks, then that is also the rail line where the Great Locomotive Chase happened when
I
the
think it's
Northers
the
tried
same
to steal
thing.
the
Yeah.
general. Okay, yeah,
That sounds about right. But yeah. But there's supposed to be like a tunnel there where like just massacres would happen, and I mean, I'm still trying to dig into this Mary Ward grave that I found over here in Arabia Mountain.
yeah. I'm not
Nothing of it. I
familiar.
can't find nothing of it at all. There's just a single random grave in the middle of Arabia Mountain in one of the nature preserve trail, and it's a weird grave too because it has a headstone and a footstone, and just it's a
Interesting.
single grave. I'm a slave.
Okay, Mary Ward. I'll
Yeah,
see if I can find some info on that, and if I do, I'll send
yeah,
it your way.
awesome.
Um, so you were talking about the alleged ghost stories about Six Flags.
Six Flags.
So the only one, and I think you and I briefly like sent like had a Twitter conversation about this.
Yeah.
Because the only one that I genuinely remember is the story of an alleged spirit of a little girl that would hang out by that Chevron
Yes.
station that used to be in the back corner of the
Yes.
parking lot.
Like you go through the main into the Batman ride. It used to be in the back towards the left over there, right off of 20 over
Mm-hmm.
there. There's that one. Apparently, she just all of a sudden she'll like you see a little girl crying and she just disappears. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently she got hit by a car or something over there, and or her parent. I don't know exactly. I got to dig into it a little more. I have the information on it, but there's also they used to do like a train robbery in the so in the back by one of the trestles over there where the train goes like around dusk or so. You could apparently see 4 people or so standing on the train trestle dressed in like period like train robber garb, which kind
That's
of
pretty
fits in
cool.
because there's that show back there too. In the in the what is it, the Crystal Pistol or whatever it is, right there in the park.
Mm-hmm.
The there's an old man that hangs out on the balconies, and will watch every show apparently. And there's another one where it says just from the stage, like sets and stuff from the stage, will end up over on the train tracks in the mornings.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
I have the idea of alleged or purportedly haunted theme parks is something that I think is really, really cool. And I didn't really have this realization until after I came back home from a Disney trip, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And the more I thought about it, is because like one of the big theories is that whatever you want to call it, a ghost, a spirit, an entity, a being, like feeds off some kind of energy, right? Like if it wants to manifest itself, it needs some kind of energy.
right.
And I mean, these theme parks are just nothing but hubs of energy, especially like the bigger theme parks that stay open later.
Fun energy
There's
too.
always,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the mechanics on the rides are always going. All of the water is always flowing. I can only imagine what the electric bill on one of those things has got to be like. So if you
I
were
don't want to
there
imagine.
to no, more than I make, I can tell you that. More than I will ever make, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Um, just the idea of these things having some kind of activity does not shock me in the least, Um, but I never really hear a lot of stories, except like a couple of like these urban legendy type stories, which
Right.
is what you have to build on at first, right? Because I know that like a lot of these places will never let teams legitimately investigate to check out, right? So,
No, not at all.
but
For
those
me,
the
man.
ones that you were just talking about are new to me. So like that those sound really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's not the first haunted theme park that I like. Up in New York, I grew up in the Bronx up there, and there used to be this big theme park up there called Freedom Land that is supposed to be haunted. There's supposed to be like little girl, like a whole family that was like died at the theme park in a fire or something, and supposed to be haunted the whole area where the park was. But now where the park is all high rise, like um, project buildings and everything. As we know, I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
just big apartment buildings, like 50 stories high. And one of the companies I worked for in the parking lot, especially like if it was like this time of year and there was a little stream back there, so it used to become foggy and everything. So every once in a while in our parking lot, you used to see a figure of a little girl. Like, oh, she's looking for her parents again.
Oh,
So
nice.
we used to
Have
rent
you
things and go over there. And Patrick is saying the same thing. Yeah,
Six Flags maybe
he
super? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's there. He knows the stories too. He was the one telling me the stories. So
Oh, nice. Nice.
yeah,
I haven't been to our Six Flags in a really long time.
you gotta come, man.
What year did the Daredevil open up?
I don't. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like I said, I've been down here going on.
Yeah.
Patrick, what year?
Man,
What year did
I
the Daredevil open up? Patrick, he would know.
that's what it's called, right? The Daredevil?
The Daredevil dive. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever year that opened up was the last year I went because I remember my then girlfriend but now wife bought us season passes and we were able to get on it before anyone because we had season passes. So they were doing like season annual pass previews. So whatever
Previews.
year
Yeah.
that was the last time I went because
That's awesome.
yeah, I haven't been back since. Not because I don't want to. Like and it's funny because I've actually been in Georgia 22 years now,
Okay.
and I still have yet to experience a Fright Fest. I know.
Dude,
I
you're coming. You're
I
coming.
am just as shocked as you are. I want to go. I want to go, and I actually told myself like this is gonna be the year because I always do Netherworld. Netherworld's always fun. It's an Atlanta staple. There's actually a haunted house right down the road from where I live called Paranoia. There's one in
Okay.
Ackworth, Georgia called Folklore Haunted House, which I hear is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
The one I'm
Fright Fest
telling
has
you keeps
always been
coming
on my
daily.
radar. Yeah, yeah, and of course there's tons of these pop up seasonal haunted houses too. And but I've noticed that the bigger ones start to do other events as well. Like they'll do Valentine's Day
Yeah.
events or
Yeah.
Christmas. Oh, excuse me, Christmas
Mm-hmm.
events. So,
Another world. Yeah.
but Fright Fest. has always been on my radar, and I'm saying it right here on the internet for everyone who's watching that I this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. Joel,
I'm
if you're
gonna
still
make
watching, remind me in October.
I am going to make you. We are
I
going
will
to
not.
accomplish this.
No argument here. It's going to happen.
It's going to. One way or the other. It's happening. It's a
So,
so.
oh man, I know because they've also started to do some fun Christmas stuff too there.
Yes, Christmas is awesome there. Like I'm all into my Halloween and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
Christmas was awesome there. That was my first Christmas in that park, and it was like we had such a great experience in doing it. That's we well, that was our first media event for Six Flags too. Was Christmas, and it was so cool. Like I honestly went every weekend. There was weekends Jess was like, "No, I don't want to go anywhere." So I was like, "All right, I'm going to Six Flags. I'm going to Holiday in the Park." And I was just walking around. I'm like, this is awesome.
Man, I want to go. Like, have you done Disney at either Halloween or Christmas?
Hmm. Yeah, I did Halloween. We've done Halloween.
Like all right, like you said, Halloween, first love. No, nothing, especially like when you're in the Magic Kingdom and they have all the fun stuff going on. Halloween's
Yes.
great. I've actually been a convert over to Christmas in the parks at Disney, and as much as I love Halloween, I'm kind of convinced I want all of my Disney trips to take place during the Christmas holiday season now because they are that
Yeah.
amazing.
We gotta talk, Patrick.
Yeah,
I've been
again,
going
like
for about
those were the stories.
7.
Seven. Okay, wow. That's how long it's been. 7 years.
That's painful.
Man, I can't believe it's been 7 years. That was the only time I rode the Goliath as well because it had just opened up prior to that. Uh, Joel, good. Keep me remind me because I will forget. Very forgetful.
Exactly.
Um, I
Goliath is
know
one of
that
my
there's a
favorites.
whole new
I'm not gonna lie.
section. Dude, it was
Um,
it was pretty intimidating when we went.
yeah, yeah, it can be. But the whole new section, like they're revamping Gotham City.
Oh, that's nice. Like got
Yeah.
that area could use a good refurb. That area could use a good
It,
reverb. Also, I just realized
yeah.
I could switch over to the live comments. So I'm kind of reading all the comments now.
Oh, it's
So my
okay.
buddy Matt, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Matt who just in all caps said, "Is that my Jordan?"
Yes, yes, it is.
It is. Hi, yeah, it's Matt. I'm here. So, yeah, no, I think the Gotham City is definitely long overdue for a nice refurb. Um, I I had I've seen the videos of like the new like I say new, but let's put that in air quotes. The uh yeah, I know. I'll get to Fright Fest. I promise. The Hall of Justice.
Yes. Oh my God, my favorite. Awesome, awesome. If you like Buzz Lightyear, right?
Oh yeah.
It's picture that, but with like the Justice League.
Oh, been sold.
Because I know the jerks. I know where to shoot at
Say I know where those secret targets are to give you 100,000 points and pop.
not that. Yeah, I know how to get the score where it makes little kids cry and have their parents yell at me on the way out the ride. Yes, that has
Nice.
happened.
Uh, hey, how dare you be good at that thing that's not associated with
Yeah,
yeah.
because first, when they were first opened up this year, and I'm there. I'm on the ride, and I'm like, I'm like, yes, I'm back in the routine. What's that? It's like 250,000. And this mother is sitting there next to me. She's like, oh, you know, you don't have to rub it in that he's in the top 1% of the score for the ride, and you know, you know, you could have at least let the kids win. I'm like, no, no, not everybody gets a trophy. Sorry.
Yeah, it's also a game. Like, hey, I just pointed the
I've
laser
also
pointer
been
in the
on this
direction that
ride
needed to
like
be in the area.
this ride every visit, so sorry. I don't know
Yeah,
what to tell you.
yeah. I my favorite thing in Buzz Lightyear is whenever the track stops.
You tried it then, right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
It,
Yep. And you just pull the trigger down, and
listen,
you just start.
I can tell you now that Danny would always win because I'm not good at those games at all. But there is a secret, not it's not even really a secret target, but in Buzz Lightyear that I know where to aim, and it gives you a good chunk of points. Like it's probably a hundred
Was it
thousand.
the alien hand or
Uh,
something, right?
it is the alien,
The
the
robot hand
inside
or
of
something?
Zurg's
Yeah.
hand. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the only time I've ever beaten my wife at that game, or I've ever got a higher score, um, was when we got stuck, and I just so happened to shoot it and see that my score went up, and I went, oh, she doesn't know about this. So I just sat there, and I
Yep.
didn't max out my score, but it was close. And then she's like, "How'd you get all these points?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." And then it was
I don't know.
bugging her for the rest of the day that he
That's like
wouldn't tell her. And then
that's like her Toy Story Mania. She destroys me on that ride. Um,
same.
but it's the whole. No, no,
Yep,
I can't.
yep.
Just give me a trigger. I'll
And
pull the trigger.
anytime, yeah, anytime we go on either one of those two rides, my wife just obliterates me in the score, and I've just accepted it. There was one time I beat her at Toy Story Mania, and you bet your ass I do not let her forget about it.
I know, right? You
So
gotta hold on to those, because we never hear the end of it either.
but then she beats me every other time, so it's like I'll take it. It's fine.
Exactly, exactly. She's like, "Well, do you want me to mark it on the calendar? I'm gonna mark it on there."
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
like,
I'll set a reminder in my
in a
phone.
month." She's like, "In a month, I'm not gonna have to see what you wrote on that calendar." But yeah, that's a good point. On my phone, remind me every year.
And
Smart.
just take a screenshot of the reminder and then
Mm-hmm.
send it to him. That yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Mm. Kill me.
So what other kind of like Atlanta stuff are you looking forward to?
um, you know, got Whitewater opening up a new ride too this year. Like we definitely enjoy the water parks.
I have not been to Whitewater as long as I've lived here.
Really?
Surprisingly, yeah. It's 15 minutes from my house. I don't know why I've not
Right there.
been there. I know. I know. It's also like
We
I
find.
listen. In not I would this is a courtesy shirt for everyone. So if I went to a water park, it would I would potentially blind everybody.
Yeah, you don't think I do? Come on. Sun hits me and it's like, it, yeah, yes,
Right.
Patrick, I do remember the time Abby beat me. Yes, but it's funny though too. We're talking about and we talked about the birthplace of Song of the South. We also had the original Splash Mountain here in Georgia.
I did not know this.
So in Six Flags was this. It was called the Okefenokee ride or whatever, the swamp ride or something. Basically about a rabbit in a swamp in a brush basically going through the song of the South, and there was a fox, Okefenokee fox, and an Okefenokee bear, and all that. And
So I
go on
remember, was it the log ride?
go on YouTube. No, it was a boat ride. Actually, it might have
Okay,
been a log. It, I forget, but there's videos of it on YouTube, and it is the creepiest thing you will see.
because I do remember a log ride at Six Flags, and I
They do
don't
have a log
remember.
flume.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of then. So yeah, no, this is all new to me. Maybe it's something. Oh, I just dropped my pen. Maybe yeah. I'll have to look into that. I didn't see that.
So yeah, they got rid of that, and they basically lost the rights to that, and then they put in the Monster Plantation, which is now known as Monster Mansion.
Okay, so I've only ever been on that attraction as Monster Plantation or Monster Mansion. Kudos to them for changing the name too. By the way, like Monster Mansion, much better. This-
Yeah,
Plantations have a lot of bad connotations with them. So
Monster Mansion. It was kind of their spin, and jab by taking their ride and making it their own. So they're like, oh, we're gonna take the mansion part of ride, and we're gonna throw it in our ride. So from
nice.
Haunted Mansion. So yeah.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah. But here's the fun thing too is you know who designed most of the animatronics in a Monster Mansion, right?
No, I don't.
They had a theme park here in Atlanta at one point.
That must have been before my time. I don't. Was it an indoor theme park?
Yes. You're thinking the same where I'm going
No,
with
yeah,
this.
yeah. Like I have read something about this, but I my details are very slim. Um, lay it on me. What was it called?
Sid and Marty Croft, the world of Sid and Marty Croft theme
Yes,
park.
yes. Okay, I did. I just read something about that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Completely, yeah.
Yep.
So the people who designed that designed the animatronics for Monster
Sid and
Mansion.
Marty Croft himself had a hand in the animatronics. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. As awesome as they are, with that's yep.
Are there cool Sid and Marty Croft Easter eggs in the Monster Mansion? Like maybe a
Not
Sigmund Sea monster somewhere?
really. No, not really. There's
Oh
nothing there.
man,
I mean, the only Easter egg in that ride is what Patrick pointed out to me was one of just wearing a Six Flags name tag that I can really
that's
spot
still
out.
pretty cool though.
Yeah. He's an employee for Six Flags,
Okay.
But yeah, this park has a lot of history. Like, you want history, you're a history buff. Show you history. Patrick knows a lot of this park too. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
history in this park.
Yeah, I need to go back, man. It's been so long. I know. Is the cyclone still there? The Texas, not the Texas, the Georgia cyclone.
And that's now
Twisted
they
side. Okay.
converted
Is
it
it
in.
still?
They they converted it into a steel coaster. It has a wood base to it, but it's a steel coaster. Sick and crazy inversions. It's a fun coaster.
Probably for the best because the last time I was on it was a little dicey.
Yep, yep.
Is the Scream Machine
But
still there?
they actually just retracted this year.
Really?
It's a landmark. So
Yeah, that can't go anywhere. I think that's what I like a lot about these Six Flag parks because the I've only ever been to two. I've only been to Six Flags
Mm-hmm.
over Georgia, and I did Six Flags Houston back when that was a thing. Um,
Okay.
but you know, when you talk as far as like concepts of like theme park attractions, and especially when you're talking about Disney, and Disney's always upgrading their things. They take things away. They take things. They plus things. They make some things better. And it's this idea that
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland, Disney World will never be a museum, and I agree to that to an extent. There are some rides that I think shouldn't be touched in the sense that I think because it shows a natural progression of technology.
Where
Like
they
for example,
started and then where they are. Yeah.
right? Like for example, Peter Pan's flight.
I was
It's
just thinking.
very exactly right. So when you look at it, you can just tell that it's very 1971, 1972, 73, whatever whatever year that attraction opened. It still has that very early theme park feel. But you
Mm-hmm.
mosey on over to Hollywood Studios and you hop on Rise of the Resistance, and you can see how far that technology has progressed, right? So, but that's what I
Mm-hmm.
really like about Six Flags is that they keep a lot of those wooden coasters around because
Yes.
like I can clearly look at that and then I can look at the Daredevil drop and be like, man, like that's we've come a long way.
Did I just get a text message that says soda, please?
Yes, you did.
Either my daughter said please or like I don't get the soda, please text messages.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, where's my soda?
Wait, where's my soda?
Nah.
You didn't text her.
That'd be a very long way to bring a soda.
Hey, I mean, uh, Jonathan said, "Yeah, creepy stories. Great is why." Exactly, Jonathan. I mean, exactly. Like, shoot, that's creepy stories. Come on, you can't go wrong with a creepy story.
Yeah, I mean I love reading them. I need to bust out like a ghost story book. I haven't read a good solid ghost story in a while, so
Yeah.
I think it's bound to or I'm bound to pull a pull a ghost story off the shelf here. I actually bought this book. Um, oh, now I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically ghost stories through the ages, and it's an edited
Mm-hmm.
book. Then the author pulls together all these cool stories, but gives context to the times in which these stories were written and what could have like fueled the idea of the ghost story that was written.
Right.
So I'm
That's
really
cool.
looking forward to pulling. Yeah, and it's all the way on my
Yeah, that's
shelf over here, and I don't feel like getting up right now to go try to find it. But it's a book that
we used
exists
to.
that somebody edited.
At one point, we were thinking about chasing down like the whole New England ghost stories and all that. The closest we did was we actually went to Salem one year, and
How is
that.
that?
Don't go at Halloween time. I'll tell you that.
Obviously, right?
Obviously, but there's that feeling at Salem, that feeling and that smell. Just there's just that something's there, like looking at you, feeling. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Jess and I we were all. Um, there's a lot to do there. Like, you just have to find it to do it. Like, there's a lot up there. Um, there's ghost walks. I mean, there's a lot of information around that you can do. We did a ghost, and I mean, granted, they showed us a lot of, oh, this is where Hocus Pocus was filmed. I don't care where Hocus Pocus was filmed. That's not what I paid to. But they went around and showed you John Proctor's grave, and
Mm-hmm.
all the girls
Like
and everything, and
Giles
yeah,
Corey, etc., etc.
yeah,
I so
they show
I
you,
find Salem. No, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say they show you where John Proctor was crushed and everything, all that, and it's uh, it's a lot to take in. It really is.
I find Salem fascinating for
Hmm.
the obvious reasons, right? Like it's steeped in all of this lore because of this very traumatic historical experience that happened there. Um,
Right.
I will say, with as much as I research history and I love to teach history and learn about history and talk about history, I feel like the one part of American history that I think we've more than likely completely exhausted has been the Salem witch trials. And that's not to say down the line future historians won't be able to ask new questions about the situation as the history discipline evolves, right? Um,
Hmm.
I I have a fascination with it because it's this town that, had that not happened, I don't think anybody would bat an eye at Salem. And even when you say the word Salem, it almost kind of carries this heaviness, right? Because you know of the witch trials, you know what's
Yes.
gone down, and it's great for the town because the town, it becomes one of those tourist towns for that, and I'm sure brings in a
Hmm.
lot of great local economy. Just like you said, there's tons of ghost walks, there's tons of witch museums, and on one level, I will pay all of my money to do all of that stuff because I love it. But also on
I
the
don't even
flip
want to
side,
tell you
it's
how
like,
much I
well,
spent up there. I
oh
don't
man,
even
I
want
can
to
only
tell. I don't even want to tell
imagine.
you. Like every
I can
corner,
only like
every corner has like a little, like another witch shop and everything, selling your products and everything.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's just like you're welcome there. Like people like us are just well, and like, hey, thanks for coming. Not like, oh, why are you here? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can stand there
Right.
and have a conversation with anybody in the town about this stuff and that. Like go
Mm-hmm.
downtown Atlanta, you get a night in like Emory Hospital or something.
Right, right. Yeah, you don't want to be around Emory Hospital around this time right now.
No, no.
But the and this is purely a personal thing, and I know that this is on me, but I also know, you being the academic historian, that when I go, like, I can kind of weed out what's the truth versus what the touristy
Right.
information is. And I'm also not here to spoil anyone's good time, so I'll keep it to myself, right? But like, I know, I like,
Yeah.
I've but I can tell you that if my wife said, "Hey, let's go take a trip to Salem," I will. My bag is already packed. I will throw hundreds of dollars at whatever cool stuff that I will find, the experiences. And so Salem is definitely on my bucket list of locations to
Yeah.
visit. Um, have you been to Savannah?
No. I want to. I have not been down there yet.
Very,
I'm all into
very
that
much
whole
worth your
pirate
time.
life and everything, and yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, no, Savannah is a great town, not only for that, but also there's a tons, like, when you watch all of these History
the
Channel, like,
hotel.
yeah, like the world's or America's most haunted cities, it's always Savannah, it's always New Orleans, and it's always Charleston,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Those are always going to be your top three. And I'm also from the New Orleans area too, so like I grew up listening to like a lot of those ghost stories as well.
Right.
But if you ever,
The
like,
whole
even just for a long
gamut.
weekend,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm from a little bit further south, like south west, so
Okay.
I'm fairly certain that my hometown is like your last stop before you get to the quote unquote the bayou. Like, that's, we had bayous, but like what you would consider down the bayou was everything after my
Right.
where I lived.
So
So
you had like the witch doctor ghost stories and
yeah, it's really interesting, especially because New Orleans is such this really interesting hub of cultures and religions, right? There's Native American cultural practices. There were a lot of voodoo or hoodoo cultural practices that were brought from the enslaved people by way of Africa and Haiti. Um,
yeah.
there would, and then you had also a lot of the European Catholic, and that all just meshed, right? So it's this weird, beautiful amalgamation of all of these cultures and religions, and I absolutely
Yeah.
love it. But I do have a bag name. I do.
And
It's
then
right over here, Joel. I'll go get it. Don't you dare tempt me, Joel. I will go.
and then you had Jonathan. Your wife would. Your wife would.
Surprisingly, I think my wife would be into it.
Then what's Tony say? It's Fantastic
So
Chronicles, the Wiccan museums, and yeah,
wait, what was that last phrase? Bunghole liquors.
yeah, like the speakeasies and things like that.
Yeah, there's one of those in Atlanta.
Is there?
Yeah, actually, if you end up doing Dragon Con, it's right smack dab in the middle of Dragon Con. It's called the Red Phone Booth.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's on one of the sides. So if you're going down Peachtree, I can't remember. I think it's on John Portman. It's either John Portman or Andrew Young. I can't remember which road. And it's just this red phone booth. But the catch is, you need to have the phone number in order to get into the speakeasy. And I think you need to get the phone number, you have to follow their Facebook page. And
Okay.
they have very secretive ways of giving out that number. So if you think you figured it out, you go into the phone booth and you dial the number. And if it's correct, a door opens up into the speakeasy.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
It's like that too. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I
Yeah.
I've
These
been
these are popping up a lot.
there's also one in Buckhead as well. There's a
Okay.
Mexican restaurant in Buckhead off of West Paces called Cheeto y Padres,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a speakeasy, and I've eaten there so many times. And then it
Okay.
wasn't until like maybe 2 or 3 months ago that I walked in and I saw that the wall was open. I was like, how long has this been there? Like, that's always been there. I'm like, I didn't know. And I've been here countless times.
Right.
So I want to go to the speakeasy at Cheeto y Padres.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
There was one in
I
New
want
York
to,
like
I want
that.
to, oh yeah? What was that called?
It didn't really, but it was like a hot dog place. It wasn't even like a bar. It was like a hot dog and an arcade place that was like speakeasy style.
Right. So it actually didn't have a name, right? So they're doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It was
awesome.
like literally like in the middle of an alleyway. You went down like you would I would never find it again. Like I had a buddy who
Man,
worked
that's
there
really
actually,
awesome.
and that's the only reason why I knew where it was and what the code was for the day, because he would let me know.
That's that's awesome. I'm sure there are a lot more of these that we just don't know about, and they're obviously playing it cool, right? So they're kayfabing it, so to speak.
Exactly.
Um, but man, if you ever go to Savannah, well, one, I highly recommend you go to Savannah because I absolutely love the city, and I will say it's probably the most New Orleans city that isn't New Orleans. They're both built on the river. They're both built off grid systems. There's a lot of seafood. There's a lot of the
Right.
Spanish moss. The um, I I absolutely love Savannah, and it's tons of ghost stories. And Savannah is one of those towns where at any given point of the night there is one of multiple ghost tours going on, and a lot of them do stop at the same places, and they kind of tell different variations to the story. Obviously, depending on what tour guide you get, they're going to tell you the story a different way. Um,
I was on one of the worst ghost tours up in Pennsylvania. I'll tell you that after this. Oh man.
oh yeah, let's. I want to hear that. Actually, Savannah was actually on one of the worst ghost tours that I went on, but it also had one of the best tours that I've been on. So the
Okay.
best one that I've been on it was called the Savannah Ghost Talk Ghost Walk, or the
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Walk Ghost Talk. I can't remember which wording was first, but it's one of those. It was
In
great.
that
Our
line,
tour
yeah.
guide was great. Yeah, tour guide was great. Very good storytelling. I was very enthralled. Worth the $10 just to go on per person to go on the tour. However, the next night we did one of those
Dude, ten
haunted
bucks.
pub crawls. No, not at all. Yeah, and it's obviously one of those like you also tip your tour guide when you're done, like a few bucks, like as a hospitality. But dude, like I would have given the dude $20 a person because he was awesome. But the next night we did a haunted pub crawl, which started out interesting, and then our tour guide, you could tell, just lost all interest in everything that was going on. And then at
Mm-hmm.
the end, she asked for tips, and I'm like, "Well, if you ask for it, then I'm just like, eh.
They're not giving it to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, have a good night." But Savannah Ghost Talk, Ghost Walk. But there are a lot of really cool buildings in like the Moon River Brewery, brewing company.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is it a haunted location, but for my money, it has the best cheeseburger in the entire state of Georgia.
Really.
Yeah, and if you
Say more.
go
Tell me more about a
during,
cheeseburger.
hey man, don't threaten me with a good time, right?
Exactly.
If you go, they also have a really cool. They're a microbrewery, so they have a seasonal brew called the Apparition Ale, which was really good.
Oh wow.
Like I'm in a haunted bar. Of course, I'm going to get the Apparition Ale. It was really really
Yeah.
good. And
Oh,
you said that you were super into like pirates and like pirate history and
yeah,
whatnot
yeah.
because they have the pirate house down there.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
Mm-hmm.
that place is awesome. That place is really cool.
That's
I don't want to
awesome.
say anything. Like I don't want to spoil it for you when you go because I want you to have that like initial first reaction when you go.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm
Right.
just gonna
Right. Right.
I'll leave it at it's really cool.
Awesome. Oh, so the one I went on, it was up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Big. We were on vacation in the Poconos, so to be there, Pocono shuts down at like 8 o'clock at night, and there's nothing else to do. So, and it was the middle of the summer, so we're like, all right, what do we do? We found this Scranton ghost tours. Okay, cool. All right, we like ghost tours. It seemed legit. They had a flyer and everything. You have a flyer, you're legit, right? Come on.
Yeah.
So went there. We're waiting. And we're looking around. We're the only two on this tour right now, and we're like, and here comes this old man with this vampire cape and
Oh
stocking
no.
and a lantern and a cane. Are you here for the ghost tour? Jess is like, say no. Say no. So I'm like, yeah, we are. He's like, well, looks like you guys are the only ones. But then I'm like, all right. I'm like looking and I'm like, well, you're kind of in the role here. I'm like, I turned to Jess. I'm like, give him a chance. Give him a
He
chance.
got dressed up. I mean, might as well.
I mean, he came out. He's willing to take us around, and it's a personal tour. I'm like, what? No, it was bad. He was bad. He was like, yeah, if you
Oh,
look
that's
there,
such a
that was
bummer.
that. Okay, moving along, and there's that. But moving along. I'm like, of that. I had to like dig for questions, and he's like, oh no, we can't go there because the police are over there, and they'll tell us to leave, and or worse. So, no, get me out of here.
Like, buddy, I signed up for a tour. You're just bringing me
But
by
as a
places and going, that's a
whole,
building.
like it felt pretty eerie as it was. Like it's like an original like industrial town, like
Mm-hmm.
one of the first railroad stations up in the north and stuff. It was kind of weird vibe to it, but and he's like, oh yeah, every once in a while people see somebody hanging in that window. Okay, end the tour. You could tip me. No, no, you're not getting a tip. I'm like,
Sorry,
I'm
buddy.
sorry, man. No, like that was I actually turned. I'm like, that was kind of. Well, you
There,
need to take the tour. I'm like, I'm telling you this, and I already paid. I'm sorry. No, it was pretty bad. Sorry.
yeah. Sorry there, bud. I man, a lot of that really hinges on your tour guide too, right? And also like the information that they choose to give you. Um, I went similarly. I went on the ghost tour here in Marietta, and it
I didn't
was
know we had
not
any.
good. It there's one in I don't know if they still do it. There's one in Roswell, Georgia, and the only reason I know that there is one is because I used to be a tour guide on it.
Okay.
Um, I highly question a lot of the stuff that I was told to say at the time. Is whenever I just started going back to college and I was just starting my degree, and now knowing what I know as far as like local history, there are some things that I don't think line up with what we were told. And
Right.
the lady who owned the tour at the time also wrote a book about it. And
Mm.
I went back and I looked at the book, and there's not one citation in that book at all.
Right.
So she does
Okay.
not cite her sources, where she gets her, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like what she does is she says something stuff along the lines of like, yeah, people just brought me these stories. Like, okay, like there's a legit way you have to do this. And that book was not it. But anyway, long story short,
People just
I know there's
brought me these
one in
stories.
Roswell. I know. um, and
Does Atlanta
which
have any?
I know, I think the city of Atlanta does have one. I've not been on it. I don't know if it still exists. Actually, I did a vlog in Roswell, Georgia, about some of the alleged hauntings there, and
Mm-hmm.
I omitted the stuff that I felt questionable, or so I stuck with more of like the lore. So if you kind of dig back a couple years, like maybe 2018, you'll
Yep.
find a vlog of mine in Roswell that talks about some of the stuff. But Marietta, when I went on Marietta, was not good. Kind of like the same thing. Dude showed up. He had like this Victorian Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde cloak slash cape
Yep.
thing with a top hat.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let the dude go for it. Like if he went out of his way to wear this specifically, then he's gonna show me something.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the stuff he was telling me is like, this building over here was used as a hospital in the Civil War. I'm like, okay, cool. What are the ghost stories attached to it? And he was like, oh, there aren't any. It's just a really gruesome story. Like, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I will recommend one more. Up in Canton, Georgia, there is
Mm-hmm.
the historic Canton Haunts, and that one is very well done.
Okay.
Very well done. So I highly recommend the Canton Historic Haunts ghost tour if you're in the
Okay.
area.
Check
Um,
that out.
I as far as
There's
Atlanta,
not more here in the South. Like, I would expect more.
I think it depends on the city, right? I feel like I'm surprised we haven't heard more from the city of Atlanta, and
Right.
I also wonder if because it's easy to go on a walking ghost tour if everything is in
Mm-hmm.
walkable distance and it's in a cluster, right? Like when you go down to Savannah, everything's on a grid system, so you can go
Right.
3 blocks over, 4 blocks up, and it feels like you didn't walk very far at all. Whereas in Atlanta, you want to go from building to building. That's a stroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a good question.
Like, I know up in in New York, we had a bunch of them.
I want to go visit New York, man. I've not been to New York. It's always kind of been a bucket
You're
list
not
city
missing
for
much.
me.
You're not
No?
missing much. No. I mean, to visit is different, and I spent all my life up there, and
Hmm.
I'm done with it. Like I want to go back up just to film stuff, just to bring back and put videos out. And I got obviously friends and family up there, but other like to live, I would not move back there. I
Fair
would
enough.
not.
I feel the same way about Louisiana. My my hometown, it's called Houma, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again a lot of family and friends. I still live down there. My buddy Matt, who yeah, I gave a shout out to in the chat, he still lives
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
And it's well, like when I go back and I visit, I get back in the like I'm kind of like feeling on board. But then I think I'm like, man, there's really nothing going on here. Like
It's
I
like
don't know
going
if I
back to
could.
Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't know if I could move back. But I love it. Like I think New Orleans is a great town, and I do kind of wish I stuck around to kind of grow up in the New Orleans culture a little bit more. But now that I'm
Right.
so far removed from it, that I feel like I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah. Yes. That's like me right now. It's like I know when I get back up there, I'm gonna be like, why did I come up here? Why did I come up to this? This is ridiculous. It's like, yeah, I need to be here for a little bit to appreciate Atlanta a little more, but know that I can still come up in my hometown. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What if you don't mind me asking, what brought you to Atlanta?
absolutely, we just needed a change of scenery and a change of pace.
Hey,
That's basically what it is.
sometimes that's all you need,
You
man.
know, yeah, we had an opportunity, jumped on it, and it wasn't even work or anything. It was just like a friend, and they're like, "Yeah, come down," and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm
And you've been
loving it
enjoying the
here.
town? Yeah, yeah. Have you? And you've been enjoying it
Completely.
since?
I have no complaints about moving down here at all.
Yeah, Atlanta's a solid town, man. I enjoy it.
Yep.
I don't get into the city limits as much as I'd like to. I used to all the time, man.
Yeah. You know.
Back between like 2005 and
Yeah.
2008, I was like really into the local music scene here, and there was a
Mm-hmm.
really awesome garage rock band. Like if you're into like early Stone stuff, like the rhythm and blues type
Mm-hmm.
stuff, those first 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
albums, there's a really cool band in Atlanta. They were called the Booze, Booze, and they
Okay.
have 4 albums. And I would go, and I'm fortunate enough to call them all friends. But even if I didn't know them on a personal level, man, like some of the best stuff I've heard, and they could have
Yeah.
taken it far. Sadly, they're not together anymore. They're all working on different projects, but every once in a while they'll get together and do a show. But man,
Right.
that's a solid band. If you haven't listened to them, I'd look them up, man.
I gotta look that up. Better than local bands. I
Mm-hmm.
used to I used to be one of those followers of the battle of the bands and stuff at different bars every weekend, and yeah, a lot of fun.
Yep. A lot of really cool venues in Atlanta that sadly aren't there anymore. I know just recently the Star Bar in Little Five Points closed down,
Okay.
and that was a really cool venue. And there was another venue downtown. Was it down? Yeah, it was like downtown-ish, called Lenny's, which is no longer there. That's been long gone. But um, when I heard
So they were like what, like
earlier this
a
year,
dad's garage type of thing, or
Yeah, it was like a local venue. So they had a stage, and you could pack probably a couple hundred people into the bar slash venue
Gotcha.
space if you needed to. So it wasn't like a tabernacle. It wasn't like a variety playhouse size venue, but it
Gotcha.
was that starter venue that
Yep.
would get a lot of really good recognition. So
See, up in New York, we had it was called the Blackthorn. It was this local bar that they didn't ID anybody, so in high school you'd be able to get it, and like awesome shows I used to see there, and that's like me too. Is like I can say you've been to CBGB's before it closed up in New York,
I'm
so
really jealous about that.
yeah, it's like I can say I touched the same stage that is on, things like that. So
Ah, man.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I that was a sad day because I know. See, they had put out the rumors that they were probably going to close, and then it looked like it was going to get saved, and then it didn't work out,
Yeah.
and then they shut the doors, and I was, man, my
But
my
here,
punk rock heart.
shut the. I know. That was me, man. Like that's all. That's all me right there. Was the punk rock in that time, and they shut CBGBs down, but they kept the CB Lounge, which nobody ever went to, and then they just ended up shutting the whole thing down.
Oh man, that's so weird. Did you ever see the CBGB's movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you like
It
it?
was well done.
Yeah,
Well
I
done.
liked it too. I liked it too.
It was so well done.
God,
I
man.
mean, it's all New York City rent. That's all it is. It was sky high, man. They had no of changing their mind on it. I mean, business is business, I guess, but it was really hard to try to save it.
Yeah, it echoes a lot of what I was talking about with the 124 Nassau building, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
all of all of the like a lot of cultural history, like art, especially art, like through music, has happened at these places,
Yep.
and they just seem to get destroyed. Like Shea Stadium, like, and I understand at that point, a stadium is different than a local venue. Stadium's much bigger, much more expensive to keep up, but I mean, when you say the phrase Shea Stadium, you can't not think of the Beatles because they sold that sucker out what two
or
or three times.
even more is original Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Like, I'm not a baseball fan, but I get what you're saying because you know that was my backyard. So Shea's concerts there that I saw, Yankee Stadium. There was so many things going on there that I saw. One of the first outdoor hockey games was played at Yankee Stadium. So many stadium too. So I get it. I get it. And
Yeah,
like I grew up
man.
in the Bronx, so Yankee Stadium was right there. It was a train ride away from me. So I
Nice.
get it. Yeah.
Nice. I want to go check out Yankee Stadium. I mean, I self-proclaimed Braves fan, die out from the day I was born, but I'm also just a fan of the game in general. So like, yeah, I have my team that I favor, but I just love a good baseball game. So this something that I would like to start doing is if my
you
wife and
know,
I ever go to different towns, we'd like to
it's
catch
like
baseball games in different
I
stadiums.
don't like baseball, but I like the events. I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather go and watch a game at a stadium than I can't sit here and watch it. I can't play that. I don't like playing it for the life of me. I'd rather be doing something else. But realistically, yeah, the atmosphere in a ballpark.
Nice. Yeah, I would. I'd like to go up there, but kind of getting back to the CBGBs, man. Like whenever I found out that it was Dunzo, like my I was actually working at the record store that I work at now, And I remember I tossed on
Yeah.
just I had a CBGB's theme night. Like I tossed on some Ramones, I tossed on some Iggy Pop,
Mm-hmm.
tossed on some Talking Heads, like all the bands that I know that really
Would play there. Yep.
really got their start there.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it was
yeah,
definitely a
man.
sad occurrence, man. I'll tell you that. It was crazy, and you'd never look at a restroom the same way again after being in CBGBs. I'll tell you that much.
I bet. I bet. Like 'cause I can
I
only imagine. Like there's some restrooms around here that are pretty dicey in these concert venues, so I can only imagine what CBGB's would have been like.
let me tell you, going to a restroom, you don't have to imagine anything.
Fair enough.
And no walls. I'll tell you that much. There's
Ooh,
no
okay.
boundaries. Okay.
All right.
Porcelain throne. Porcelain throne up, standing up on the step. Yeah,
Oof.
it was a punk club. What do you expect?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Now that you say it out loud, of course it was that way.
It was a punk club. We had no boundaries. We didn't care. You got onto a New York City subway with the mohawk, and what are you looking at? You know.
Was the punk rock scene your thing whenever you lived up there in the Bronx?
Yep. It was. It was.
Nice. Who are some of your favorite punk bands?
Oh, that hands down were the Ramones.
Hmm.
Rancid. Um, yeah,
I do like a good.
Rancid was definitely good.
Ruby Soho
Too. So,
still rips, man.
hmm I mean, I had to support Rancid. They were from New York. I mean, come on, it's around that whole time. So, really wasn't
So
much punk around that time, really, but it was there.
that's fair. Like it like there was that weird like transition, especially like in the late '90s. And I don't know what the
Like
New
you
York
had
scene specifically looked like, but go ahead.
Spring and that popping up and
Yeah, and like a lot of those late '90s punk bands were also like kind of. I feel like the reins were brought back on them a little bit just so they could be presentable for radio,
hmm
right? I I don't know what the music scene had looked like specifically in New York, but I remember that was also around the time where like a lot of those like all those bands that came out after the grunge movement happened, so like a lot of what you and I would call the buzz bands were starting to get big, and then a lot of the boy
hmm
groups and like the what we now refer to as pop music has like really started to take
Well, we
its
also had
the early forms of what it is
the
now.
'90s alternative era too. Kind of
Yeah.
took over for
Well,
punk.
yeah, that's kind of what I meant by like a lot of like bands like Bush,
Yeah,
right? Like that
yeah.
that were like kind of riding the coattails of Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam from
It was where
the grunge era.
the the punk became the skater.
By Phantasmic Chronicles.
Later, Tony. Have a good night, buddy.
Anyway, you were
Like the
saying? I'm
punks
sorry.
became the skaters. Like the punks became the skaters at that point. That there was
Hmm.
that transition. So
Right, right. Because that was around the time I started. Like I got a skateboard, and then all my friends were introducing me to all of these punk bands at the time. Like No Effects was a big one around
yep,
that time.
yep.
Um, oh, trying to remember some of the other late '90s
I'll
punk
tell you.
bands. So
I'll spit a name out to you, and you're probably like, "Oh my god, why would you listen to that?" But like
what is
Powerplay
it?
5000.
Oh man, we talk when worlds
Oh
collide.
my gosh. Yep,
Spider Zombie.
yep, yep. Yeah, there was time and
So I can tell you that I neglected a lot of music between the years '97 to about 2001 because in 96 I discovered the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
I was 13, I discovered the Beatles, and then that's all I listened to exclusively for like the next 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And I really didn't start listening to newer, more contemporary stuff until I can tell you the exact moment. I was driving. Do you know where Town Center Mall is?
I do.
Okay, so
I
my
do.
first job was at KB Toys at Town Center Mall.
I loved KB Toys.
Oh, I did too. I miss it. But I was in high school. I was driving home from KB Toys, and I don't know if you're a fan of this band or not, but I'm a really big fan of the Strokes. And oh
Last
man,
night.
and of course New York, yeah, New York, yeah. Last night came on the radio,
Yep.
and it blew my mind. I was like, "What is this?" And I immediately went out and bought the album the next day, and
Yep.
I've been incredibly hooked since then. Funny story, they actually have a new album coming out tomorrow.
Do
um,
they really?
yeah, and it's get
Let me
this,
know.
it's appropriately titled "The New Abnormal," considering all of the COVID-19 stuff we've got going on right now.
That is. What about the White Stripes?
Oh, I am a through and through Jack White fan. I have loved every. So I have a very funny history with the White Stripes. I heard "Fell in Love with a
Mm-hmm.
Girl," loved the song. I bought the CD. I hated the rest of the songs. I threw it in a
Really?
corner. Yeah. A couple years later, whenever Elephant came out, I loved Seven Nation
Delicious.
Army, so I was like, I'll give the album a try. And I listened to it
Mm-hmm.
and I hated it. A week after I put it aside, I was like, I'll give it one more shot. And then
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those situations where like conditions were perfect. Like the weather was nice, I was in a good mood, and it was exactly what I wanted to listen to at the time. And the album clicked with me like that. And I went back and I
That's all it
listened
takes
to all the
sometimes.
other White Stripe stuff. Yeah, yeah. And after that listen, I was like, what have I been doing to my like? I've been depriving myself of this great band. And so I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely loved. Actually, the back in 2004, I was dating a girl who really was into the White Stripes as well, and I had really long hair at the time, and we went for Halloween as the White Stripes. Yeah, I don't think my hair was quite as long as yours. I actually have a picture of my long hair. I'll find it while I'm
I
talking
mean,
with you.
mine comes down to at least my shoulder blade. Yeah.
Yeah, yours
Nothing too
was a little
extreme.
bit longer than mine was at its longest, but yeah, anything
Well,
Jack
what
White
about
touches, like I,
My Chemical Romance?
it's so I have a weird thing with My Chemical Romance as well. Like whenever it was out, I wasn't into it, but retrospectively, as I'm kind of going back and listening to stuff that I was not, I was putting off listening to at the time, like I'm really enjoying it. Like Black Parade, I think is a really solid album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know it's probably cliche to say, but I think Teenagers is still one of their strongest songs. And it's got a really nice hook to it. It's really upbeat and poppy. So what's that in Green Day where
You
the
said it right.
Nirvana say yeah, yeah, and man, in
Silverchair
Green Day,
rips. Yep.
man, yep. So
I
God,
couldn't.
Silverchair was a good band too.
I couldn't with Green Day. I couldn't.
No, you're not a Green Day fan?
Mm-mm. No.
So I remember when Dookie came out, that was a big deal. So I can tell you right before I
Yeah.
discovered the Beatles, Green Day was the biggest band on the radio. And I really enjoyed Green Day.
I mean, you know
Um
what it is? Is Green
I'm
Day is
not
so played out for me. That's what it is. They're so
That's fair.
overplayed. Everybody knows Green Day.
Mhm.
I mean, at the same time Green Day was out, it was either Green Day or I had the Beastie Boys.
That's
And I'm a
fair.
New Yorker. I'm going Beastie. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had a better, Brass Monkey and all that. I mean, come on.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn, man. Come on.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't think you could get away with recording Paul's Boutique these days. That album would be so expensive to make now
No.
with all those
Uh-huh.
samples. Phew, man.
Yep. Even
Um
their videos were amazing. I mean, come on, watch their music videos. They were
ah
amazing.
just like the video for Sabotage alone, man. Like that's a good video.
That's what I'm saying. I know.
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
sure you've seen this. I'm sure you've seen this. But have you seen the trailer for Rogue One where they cut it to Sabotage?
Yes.
Oh, it was
Yes.
so good. It was so
I
good.
I I lost it at that. Oh man, that one.
Oh, I absolutely loved that. I'm trying to find this picture of me with my long hair so I could show the internet. So I'm getting there, I promise. It's yeah, I'm getting there, I promise. I'm not. Oh, there it is. You ready for this?
Yeah. Hold on. We can do this.
There you go.
There we go.
That was
Yeah.
that was the Jordan Ghastly circa 2005.
Hey, we all had some weird hairstyles coming on, so that's all I know.
I know, man. So I know you mentioned the White Stripes. Are you a Jack White guy as well?
Yes. Yes.
Have you been to his Third Man in Nashville?
I have not. I have not been there.
If you're ever passing through, it's worth it. I went a long time ago before they knocked down the walls and expanded. It was very small, but it was really really cool. And then of course they did all these renovations, and now it's like a Nashville hotspot.
That's awesome. That is awesome. It's like Jack White's Graceland.
Yeah, yeah, man. If I ever go, like I always I'm always like, am I gonna run into Jack White today? Can I? If I see him, do I say hello? Is it one of these
You have
things
to
where I'm
say,
not allowed to look him in the eye?
you're like, uh, uh, hi.
I I actually played his guitar once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was. It was at the Tabernacle here in Atlanta, and it was the first time the Raconteurs were touring.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten some of the Live X tickets from 99X, and they were doing it at the Tabernacle. It was just like 5 short songs, but they went in, they set up, and after the first song, Jack White takes his guitar off and he hands it to my friend standing next to me, and he just goes,
Mm.
"Hey, pass this guitar around and let everybody take a look at it." So everybody who was there got a chance to play Jack
Awesome.
White's guitar. Yeah, it was
That's
super
awesome.
cool. Super cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Was fortunate enough to see the White Stripes a couple times too before they disbanded.
Mm. I don't even want to tell you the free tickets I won.
Oh man,
Embarrassing.
nothing
That's all I know.
nothing feels
Embarrassing.
better than getting like free tickets to a concert, right?
Unless it's the one I no, unless it's the one I went to.
Uh oh, what concert was it?
It was a Limp Bizkit concert.
Ooh, ooh, no judgment, no judgment, but oof,
Yeah.
that was.
It was sister like thing, and they were like, our music's free, we don't care, make it free. There was a Cypress Hill Limp Bizkit concert. It's interesting.
At least you had Cypress Hill.
This is true, and it was in the same place I saw Slipknot at too. But
Did you hear the story? I think it was about a year or two ago, where somebody started a rumor that Limp Bizkit was gonna do a free concert at this gas station, and they promoted like they just like started photoshopping flyers on this gas station, and people who were
Yeah.
legitimate Limp Bizkit fans were like, "No way!" And then like they were getting hyped about it,
Like,
and then it
showed
was
up
just
and
it wasn't
everything.
true. Yeah, like it just wasn't true. And I thought,
That is
man,
hilarious.
way to kick the Limp Bizkit fans while they're already down.
Right? I mean, come on. I, all those UFO wearing red Yankee hat backward wearers, you know?
Man, let me tell you, there were a lot of those in my high school.
Oh, I know. I know. I know. I'm like, you want to listen to something real? Here, listen to this. CD, and they're like, what is this?
What is going on?
That's like, well, I was at a Slipknot concert where the city of New York, you are not welcome back here anymore. Because
No way.
became that violent. Oh yeah, it was a Halloween show. You're not welcome back.
I can see Slipknot crowd getting a little rowdy on Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, then I was at another fest, and that one turned into a mess. Papa Roach.
What
was
year?
on stage.
Okay, Papa Roach. I can hone it down with Papa Roach.
It was Papa Roach. I don't understand why Crazy Town had the main stage. Swimming Pool.
Okay.
Mudvayne. Obviously, Ozzy.
Mm-hmm.
Slipknot. I forget who else was there, but yeah, it was a decent lineup.
It was kind of like the new metalish era of like the early 2000s then.
Yeah, and it started pouring, and Papa Roach was like, "All these MFers up here under the canopy who staying dry and clean, send the mud down." Yeah, not good.
Yeah, that does not sound like a fun time at all.
We're shutting the show down if you don't stop. Oh, man.
What? Because it sounds like you and I have. It sounds like you've also been to a lot of concerts as well as I have.
Mm-hmm.
What are some groups that you haven't seen, or some bands or artists that you haven't seen that you wish you would have seen?
Jeez. At one point, if I wanted to see them, I was gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Offspring, actually, I definitely would have went to go see Offspring. When I go to concerts, I usually end up seeing a lot of old bands. I would have loved to go to a Nine Inch Nails concert. I've been trying to get tickets for that. Smashing Pumpkins. Things like that. I mean, I've seen Manson a couple times.
That's cool.
Manson was at Ozfest, actually. That the year he got in trouble, the year I was at Ozfest.
Nice.
Had to watch that. No, I had to on John Beltran, watching him do what he did. No. Yeah, typical Manson style, let's just say. But
Right. That also would have been kind of like right after his peak. So he was probably like,
exactly.
I need to do something to get people to talk again.
Oh yeah, he definitely had talk because he made the news and.
Mm-hmm.
But that security guard wasn't happy. I'll tell you that.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I've actually been fortunate enough to see Nine Inch Nails a couple times. They pass through. They play at Lakewood when they do, and my wife's three favorite bands. You ready for this? The Beatles, Nine Inch Nails, and Hanson.
Okay.
It's right. It's an eclectic mix, right? And I can't hate on Hanson because I those guys are still putting out albums, and they still sell out every venue in Atlanta whenever they come. So I have no hate, no judgment. Like those guys are killing it. But
They
so
do
my
pay
wife
you
is a big
correctly.
fan. Yeah, yeah. Hey, they're paying the bills, man. They're doing something I wish I could do. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hating on Hanson one bit. Um,
Yep.
but my wife was like really like, no, we got to go see Nine Inch Nails. I was like, okay, and it was a double, um, a co-headliner tour, so it was them and Soundgarden. And I thought I
Oh,
haven't like
nice.
Soundgarden. Yeah, so I was like I haven't seen Soundgarden. I'd like to cross them off of my list. So let's go. And I was there, and I got to see the two songs I really wanted to see him play. I got him to Black Hole Sun and Fell on
Yeah.
Black Days. Like those were my two that I wanted to see. And then unfortunately, like within a year, Chris Cornell passed away. So I was
Yeah.
really happy that I did go see him when I did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
That's
I
like
think
I like if I tell you the concert I've been to the most for the band I've been to the most, you probably die in your seat right now.
no, man. What is it? Lay it on me.
Sticks.
Really? Man, Renegade is a damn good song, man. Styx is a good band.
I yeah. Um, twice up in New York, once down. One of my cat like twice down here actually.
Nice.
So yeah, actually more than that. I did so much up in New York. I mean, almost every concert I went to that I either was dragged to or there. So
That's awesome. Like,
can't go
man,
wrong
I got nothing
with
against
Styx.
Styx, man. Like, when your band is
Yeah,
named after the mythical river in hell, like, I got to give props, right? Come on.
exactly. And they
Um,
had a video game.
wait, they had a video game? I didn't know this.
Yeah, they did. They did.
I'm gonna look this up. I'm like
I
taking notes
believe
as
they
like
did.
we've been
I
Styx video game. The I feel like I would have loved to have seen David Bowie,
yes,
and
I would have.
I yeah, man, I he's a top three for me, and unfortunately, I never got to see him. Um,
I actually went to a labyrinth ball like right after,
did
like
you
a
go to
year after
the
he died.
Did you go to the one at the Center for Puppetry Arts?
No, no, this was up in New York. This was for the
Okay,
anniversary of Labyrinth, and I actually we dressed up and everything. We kind of did like this whole like steampunk kind of look. It was like this whole like steampunk pirate type of look and everything,
nice.
and everything, and yeah, it was really a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Because they did the same thing at the Puppetry Arts.
Okay.
It was like super exclusive. Like X amount of tickets existed, and it was actually Dragon
Mm-hmm.
Con weekend. And
Yeah.
I used to work there in the museum,
Okay.
uh, so I was fortunate enough to help like put some of those pieces in place on display in the museum. The Henson and the what was the temporary labyrinth exhibit. I actually have a picture, and so at the time I was working there, I was also doing an internship there, and I got there
Mm-hmm.
super early one morning, and um the not the prop shop, the creation studio. I'm blanking on what it was called. Built a recreation of Jareth's throne,
Oh
and it
wow.
was just there for photo ops. So like you could go and you can
Right.
sit there, and it was to celebrate like the
That's
labyrinth.
awesome.
So I show up to work and I clock in for my internship hours, and I'm condition checking a whole bunch of museum artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my internship coordinator, who is one of the coolest people, she said, "Hold on one second, I'll be right back." and she threw me two of the blue nitrile gloves that you're supposed to wear whenever
Yeah.
you're handling artifacts. She's like, put these on real quick. So I
Right.
do. And she's like, sit in the throne. She came back with a box and she opened them, and they were David Bowie's crystal balls from Labyrinth. She
Wow.
goes, I'm going to take your picture. So I
Wow.
have a picture of holding David Bowie's crystal balls while I'm sitting in the Labyrinth throne.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
dig for this picture
awesome.
too because now I've teased it, and I'm sure Jonathan here
Yeah, that
wants
loves
to
it.
see it. Um.
Um,
Anyway,
Actually, the
point
one
being,
we went to, Toby was there. We met Toby.
nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh man, man, I miss working there. There's some
Jonathan said I did some puppetry. Cool. That's awesome, Jonathan. Jonathan's
nice.
like a man of all talents. Like is an awesome dude. Like I gotta say, Jonathan again for winning the game last night from us. He won the
Oh
giveaway.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. There we go.
That is awesome. Oh man,
Yeah,
crazy. Hold on, let me. I'm like,
I'm trying to get a
make sure
good
that I can do this. Here you go.
I'm trying to get a good
We're
angle on
right
it,
there.
so
Oh wow.
yeah. So up, and then if
Yeah.
you can
The
I'm doing
detail in
this
that chair
backwards.
was
No,
amazing.
I'm going backwards. Yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it like there are very few things that that stand out as far as like my employment there goes, and like that was one of them. I was like, this is a cool special moment. So I was very
Yeah.
very fortunate enough to be part of that. But like point being is like they threw a labyrinth ball as well for the 30th anniversary.
That's
So it
awesome.
was fun times all around, man. Which I know you've been to the puppetry arts. Yeah.
I have. We did a video on there, and they actually invited us. They were like, "Yeah, come on out. We want you here to come do a video." And well, I reached out to them first, but then they were like, they were all about it. So they're like, "Yes, nobody's ever
Nice.
really come out here with our permission to come out here." And I know the Carpetbagger has been out there a couple times and speaks highly of them, but they haven't
Hmm.
had somebody reach out to them. They said to do what we did for them. So I'm hoping that we
That's
can hear
cool.
back from them more to get more
Well,
events.
it's really interesting that they phrased it that way because when I worked in the museum,
Yeah.
the only thing that you really weren't allowed to do was flash. Like you couldn't because the light will degrade the artifact on display. But they were like, yeah, you could take all the video you want, you could take all the photos you want, just no flash. So it's very interesting that they phrased it that way. I wonder if something changed in their policy.
No, I think it was because they knew it was video and not photo. So
Okay, that would make a lot of sense.
like
Make a
like
lot of sense.
they basically were they afterwards they're like, thank you so much for the video you did. They're like, it was amazing that you showcased everything that we wanted you to showcase and we were hoping that you were showcased. And they they blasted it out for us too. I mean, the video didn't do as good as I was hoping, but I'm hoping with the summer coming up, things start clearing up. People are going to start going out and looking up to
Hmm.
do things here in Atlanta, and that's going to obviously be one of the videos that'll pop up for them. So
Yeah, that's. I
hopefully,
mean,
that the Babyland General doesn't do well unless it's like this time of year, or when the kids
hmm
are off from school, and start looking for things to do, and that pops up for them. So, which is fine
yeah,
with me.
we haven't made
It's
our
something
way
to
back
do.
up there yet for to Cabbage Patch. We like my wife and I talked about going and
That
doing like
was
a long weekend in
hard
Helen.
going.
So, oh yeah.
That was hard to yeah. That was the creepiest place I've been.
I mean, listen. Whenever you have like babies growing out of the ground in a cabbage patch, I feel like that's just a setting
And
for a
they're
horror
there.
film in general. Yeah,
They're there like this. I was like, "What are you doing? Your doll, go away."
yeah. Sorry, my
You were
cat wants to
born
get
from a
in on
tree.
this.
Uh,
You were grown out the ground, so Stella wants to steal the
we can talk
spotlight
about
here for
another
a
time.
second.
We can talk
Man, I
about
haven't been in
another
forever.
time. I want to go to the mines up there.
I've not done that.
I want to go to
That would be
what
cool.
you call it, Delonica mines up there.
Mm-hmm. There's have you been up to Chattanooga much?
No, no.
For an hour and a half away, like Chattanooga's worth a visit.
That's what I'm hearing.
They've got some cool stuff. If you can swing it, like Rock City is really cool to go. Um, and they have like their spots called Lookout Mountain, and you can see 6 different states from the
Right.
elevation, which I think is pretty cool. And then they've got Ruby Falls, which you go into the caves and you see like they have everything lit up
Yeah.
very nice and shiny. And if you can time it right and go during October, they actually put on a haunted house in the
Really?
caverns.
In the cave.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I haven't been in a very long time, but whenever I did go, it was probably one of the top 5 haunted houses I've been to.
Really?
Hmm.
Gotta check that out.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, man.
Might smell a road trip.
I mean, again, it's only like an hour, like maybe even not even an hour and a half away from us. It's right there.
Yeah. I know. When we went up to the Cabbage Patch place, it was like an hour away for us, so not even an hour and a half or something like that.
Hmm.
I think I made it in an hour. I'm not, trying to brag on that. Don't do what I
No,
did.
hey, don't go 90.
Atlanta driving, that's all. Atlanta driving, that's all.
Hey, man,
Fan-
you get. There's no way to do it but to do it.
Listen, and I did it.
And listen, it's also like you have to experience Atlanta traffic in order to understand the struggle.
I'll tell you right now, the struggle of going up there, that was an interesting trip. I probably shouldn't have. Like, I knew my brakes were shot.
Jesus.
Okay. Driving an hour and a half away with a little 5-speed 1990 Holt hatchback, yeah, I'd be fine. Yeah, no. On the way up there, all of a sudden, something popped, flying out somewhere, and
Oh no.
it's like caliper seized up. So I'm like, well, I'm kind of far away for a tow truck. Fix this. We're just gonna eat up the rotor. Yeah. The whole way back. I got back and the rotor was just red. Red.
Oh no.
Paper off of it. Yeah. It's like, well, I'll fix it Monday.
We'll just let it cool down for a bit. It'll be fine.
Yeah. It was alright. Interesting. It's just interesting, that's all. I had 3 other sets of brakes. I mean, come on. It was alright.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's 1/4 of your brakes. The other 3 were fine.
But that's how I am, though. If I'm on a mission to go somewhere, I'm going to get there. No matter what happened, I'm.
No, man, I'm with you. With you all the way on that.
Hey, Coaster Nick. What's up, buddy? But that about concerts, I just remembered. I actually
What's that?
won tickets from the radio station in Atlanta now. I forget the name of it.
99X, 96 Rock,
No. 100.5
Um,
or what?
Q100. Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying. That
I
station.
know which one you're talking about.
And
Yeah.
I won tickets from them a while back before the new year for the Black Keys concert.
Is that wait? Did that get postponed?
I think so. I would imagine.
Black Keys.
I,
I've man.
they
Okay, I have a Black Keys
played,
story.
and I was so excited to see this.
That's a damn good double bill.
I
Black
know.
Crows and Black Keys. Ooh.
Because get together after how long? How many fights?
Yeah. Yeah. I I have a Black Keys story.
Okay.
So back when their second album came out, Thick Freakness, they were still playing a lot of the smaller venues. They were two dudes touring in a van, right? They didn't have the big production.
Right.
And my buddy says, hey, they're playing at a venue in Athens, Georgia called the 40 Watt. And I had never been to Athens at that point,
Okay.
and I definitely hadn't been to the 40 Watt. Great town, great venue. So in the 40 Watt, when you walk in, there's part of the building that protrudes coming like if the doors are right in front of you, there's an extension of the building this way, and if you go into this part of the building, there's a very tiny record store. And whenever I say very tiny, if you could squeeze 5 or 6 people in there, that's the maximum amount of people you can get in there, right? So we go into the venue, we get a drink, we walk around, we're still quite early, and I say, let's hop into this record store. So my buddy and I hop into the record store. There's one dude working and one dude looking at the records. We're in there, and my buddy and I are just chatting back and forth. We're the only ones that have any kind of conversation going, but we're also keeping our tone very low as to not bother the guy behind us.
Right.
And I lean over to my friend and I say, man, should I buy a copy of Thick Freak? Because I had it on CD. I didn't have it on LP. And at the time, I was a really big record collector. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I think I'm going to get Thick Freakness on LP. And then as I was flipping, I found a copy of the White Stripes' first album, the self-titled one,
Right.
on LP. And I had been looking for that for months. Oh, sorry. Siri thought I was talking to her, and she yelled at me just now.
Funny.
So I found this White Stripes record, and I went, oh, man, I've been looking for this for months. I'll get Thick Freakness later. I'm going to pick up this White Stripes album. And I turn around, and the other dude is Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys. And he clearly heard me say that I wasn't buying the Freakness because I was buying a White Stripes album. And then he looks at me, and I went, and then I went and I purchased it, and I just left.
Oh, wow.
And,
Oh, wow.
and he recognized me whenever the show started because I got up pretty close, and he looked at me, and we never exchanged words, but he looked at me that said, I know you bought that White Stripe album. so I made sure to buy a copy of the Thick Freakness LP from their merch booth before I left. So Dan Auerbach, if you're listening to this, I still gave you money that night.
Yes, because, the Black Keys listening to us stream tonight.
Hey, man.
That'd be pretty awesome. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, God, the Black Keys are so good. They're a good band.
They are. And that would have been an awesome lineup with the Black Crows. Oh, my gosh. I was so hyped. I called Jess. I'm like, hey, I won tickets to this concert. She was like, oh, God. She's like, let me guess. You're dragging me. I'm like, uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So when is that supposed to take place? When is that supposed to happen?
Let me actually see. I think it was supposed to be
Because if it's
June.
Oh, okay. They might reschedule that.
Atlanta. They're in Halifax on the May 5th.
Halifax on Cinco de Mayo.
You know.
Just one day after Star Wars Day.
I know. I know. Which, why does it have to be a Monday?
I've slowly started to embrace the Star Wars Day. Like I was vehemently against it for the longest time. And then within the last 2 or 3 years, because here's the deal. I don't need a day to love Star Wars. I just love Star Wars.
Exactly.
Right? It could be June 30 whatever, June 18th, right? Like I don't need a day to like the stuff that I already love.
Or to watch the movie, and yeah, I got
right. And then, but I get it, right? It's very punny. It's
BB
Mhm.
here, and the shirt.
Oh, you can't. All my Star Wars stuff is. I've got some stuff up here, and then I've got some stuff back here, and
yeah.
So
the photos, the paintings you got up on your walls from I've seen from your streams, from your vlogs.
These right here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Those were all done by a friend of mine, and I can give you his information if you want to buy a print. He's local in Atlanta. Yeah, his name is Chris Hamer, and his art studio is called Urban Pop.
Okay. Awesome. Like
I can forward you some more info.
Awesome.
Yeah, he does good work. He's a cool guy. Tying it back to conventions, he actually put on a small comic convention in August, and I think he's doing it again this year.
Where?
So, it's in Smyrna. It was called the Legion Comic Con because it's done in one of the American Legion venues, and he had a really good turnout for being a small one-day convention, and he's doing it again this year. So I'm gonna be there. So
okay. Awesome. So yeah, I would probably do.
Yeah, man, you should definitely come out. It was a fun time last year.
Awesome. I was so looking forward to Toy Atlanta.
Man, I was so bummed because we planned on hanging out that day. We're meeting up, hanging out, buying toys that we don't need, and also like filming stuff.
Into
What?
the media room? And I was gonna get you into the media room because I had media passes.
Psh, look at you over here, media pass, and I was gonna pay for my ticket like a sucker.
Yeah, no. Look, all you got to do is apply to these things. What are they going to tell you? No, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So, did you go to last year's Toylanta?
No.
Oh man, it was fun. I went and I gave myself a budget. I was like, all right, $100. You can blow $100 on whatever you want. Fully knowing that I was probably going to walk with like maybe 2-3 things at the most.
Right.
And I did not spend $1.
You can go with $100 budget, and you can blow that $100 on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
In a package. Or
you
can do what I do. I don't care about packages. I just want it because it's going up on a shelf somewhere, and I'm just gonna go. Because me with like Ghostbusters and old Turtles and things like that, I don't want those in the package. I want them out. I remember them out when with them at that point. They were out of the package, and that's how I want them.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah.
That is so. It's funny because I collect a lot of Transformers, and
I know you do.
Like what? Yeah, I know, right? I talk about them all the time on Twitter. I probably annoy all of my friends.
Your video.
Right, but also like what's thank you, by the way, appreciate it.
Not a problem. It brought back memories to me too.
But,
Like, oh, the turtle.
right. But like, what fun is a transformer if you can't transform it?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So like a lot of those I open, and then I've realized that a lot I buy a lot of the vintage reissue stuff, and then I keep those in the package because I love the presentation because it looked like how I remembered it looking in the 80s and in the
Right.
early 90s, right?
Right.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of these Transformer reissues or the vintage collection with Star Wars, even though they're newer figures, the card art
Right.
has that nice Kenner 1980s look to it, and I love the presentation of
Exactly.
those. So like stuff like that, I tend to keep in the box. But no, man, if I'm going to a convention and if I'm buying something vintage,
Yeah.
man, it's got to be open. Like there's reissues, I say for me are fair game to leave in the box. But as far
Mm-hmm.
as like OG, I wish I still had some of my original Ghostbusters.
Oh, I'm on the mission to collect them again.
Yeah.
I'm on the mission for an Ecto One. It doesn't need to be in the best shape. I just want it the old school.
Mm.
Don't even need to have the fins. I just want the vehicle. you know, um, maybe the firehouse. The biggest mission that we're on, my pet monster.
Boy, man, if you find one, let me know because I would love one of those as well.
mm-hmm.
I never had one growing up, but my friend across the street from where I lived had one, and
Yep.
it was awesome.
Yep. If I'm finding it, and if I'm gonna pay the money for it, it better have the handcuffs with it too. That's all I know.
Yes, yes. Oh God, I would love to have a My Pet Monster. I know Super Seven recently did one of their reaction figures for My Pet
Mm-hmm.
Monster,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean it's this big, right? It's not a giant plush. So,
With the
but
giant
I
plastic nose that was gonna knock you out, and yeah, come on.
yes, yeah. But man, like who else is doing? Who else is making My Pet Monster items? No one.
Nobody. But it's not the same.
So
It's just not the same.
it's not. It's not. And funny you mentioned the Ghostbusters because I actually just stumbled across a pre-order for all of the real Ghostbuster reissue toys that Hasbro's coming out with.
They just released them at the New York Toy Con.
Yeah.
They released the whole line of it, and yeah, I saw that, and oh, I'm like, really? I need it. I don't have the money for it, but I need it.
Mm-mm. Hey, it's
And
not my
they're
money. It's Mastercard's.
exclusive to Walmart, apparently too, from what I'm understanding.
Mm-hmm. If you
Which
scour the
tells you that's
Walmart,
not going to be a lot.
no, no, no. If you play your cards right and you scour the Walmart website really early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find them in stock to pre-order. And
Mm-hmm.
I was getting ready for work one day. It was like 5:30 in the morning. I woke up, I had my coffee, I was checking my phone, and I was like, whatever, I'll see what Walmart has. And they were all in stock because they had been sold out for like 3 weeks prior. And I was like, well, got to
Okay.
get jump on them now. And I did when I did, and I'm really happy when I did because that was a line that I wanted to revisit to just put back here in my backdrop of my office.
Yeah.
So I'll keep
Yeah.
an eye out for an Ecto One for you though.
Oh yeah. You know what else I'm looking for? Proton pack.
Man, I had one of those. That was so
And I
fun.
want and the trap.
Trap. They had a trap at Toylanta whenever I went last year, and it was
You can
60
get those
bucks.
for really cheap too. Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was
Then
60
I've actually
bucks.
seen them for.
Really? Okay, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm shopping at the wrong place. Then I was clearly about to drop 60 bucks on a convention price.
Yeah. But that's the
Okay.
problem
Well,
is
I'm glad I didn't buy it
get
then.
these people's get their cards at the convention, right?
Right.
And then them online because it's usually a lot cheaper. Or if you're going to shop at the
Okay.
convention, you got to shop on Sunday because they don't want to lug all this stuff back with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's what I do.
we went on Saturday, and it was pretty hustle and bustle, right? Like there were a lot of people there, and it was good. And I surprisingly didn't buy anything that day.
Mm-hmm.
I went with the purpose of spending money, just pointlessly spending money, and I didn't spend a dollar. I There was one guy that had a whole bunch of transformers, and I found one that I was looking for, and it was a price that I was willing to pay.
Right.
And then I went to pay him with a card, and he was like, "Oh, I don't take a card payment for anything less than fifty
Only
dollars."
cash. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm like,
See,
"Buddy, like I'm not
this,
spending
this,
$50."
it, Jonathan telling me to build a proton pack.
Do it.
I was this close. I was this close to do it because when I was in New York, I was Busters up there.
Nice.
Um, you know what I'm talking because we have them down here in Atlanta too. The whole
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbuster cosplay community. I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
do it, but then I'm like, that's just gonna consume my life. Wow, BB-8's freaking out.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
about to say he was lighting up.
There we go.
Yeah.
He has 3 light
What's he saying?
bulbs. I think he wants me to become a Ghostbuster.
I say go for it.
Yeah, but those proton packs, they're not cheap. They're not cheap to make.
No, no,
They're
and
not.
that's also one of the reasons why I've never made one. Just the concept of owning
Yep.
one, I think, would be awesome, and busting it out, and not no pun intended, busting it out. You know, still, man, I don't think I have the money to put into one. Not right now.
But here's the cool thing: is you can actually join the Ghostbuster groups by just getting the jumpsuit, and that's all you need to join the group. So you can actually like they don't require you to have the jumpsuit, the proton pack. Like yeah, just come join us, come have fun. That's it. And they're a bunch of
That's cool.
fun individuals. Yeah, yeah.
Did
Because like
you
some of the Star
see the
Wars guys are
documentary
in that documentary on what?
about the Ghostbuster fans?
Mm-mm.
I
No.
cannot remember what it's called. It was on Netflix. It's kind of like the Ghostbuster version of like Trekkies.
Okay.
Um, and they they went around and interviewed a lot of the different states.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, sects of Ghostbusters or like communities or
Yeah.
whatever. And I think
Yeah.
one of the people that they interviewed is in the Marietta, is in the Atlanta Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
or the Marietta chapter, which I thought was really cool because I had a day off of work, I just put it on, and then it was like, oh, this person's from Marietta, Georgia. I'm
That
like,
have
oh,
their own compared to Atlanta. Like I know there's the Georgia Ghostbusters.
that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if like maybe it's one of those things where they're all part of Georgia, but they each have their own local chapters within the state.
Maybe. Maybe.
So I haven't looked I haven't really looked into it. But that's really cool that they don't require you to have a lot of expensive stuff. Like I know like you said you're in the 501st. I can only imagine how much it costs getting that armor together or whatever suit you're doing,
Well,
right?
I have a Jedi. I have a Jedi. And well that's what you were saying about the whole Disney sabers and all that. That's why I don't really look upon the Disney sabers as anything worthwhile for me.
Mhm.
More of a wall hanger, and I mean they're cheap compared because I used to do stage combat lightsaber battles and stuff too. So the Ultra
So
Saber I
yeah, you need the
have
stuff
will
that
not
like can take a beating.
exactly, and the Disney ones will not do that, and so it's for me, it's not worth my money. Um, but the saber alone is probably about $100,
Mm-hmm.
easily. And then considering the get up, she actually made the whole tunic and under tunic and tabards and everything. So going out to buy the fabric and everything else like that. So I mean, if I bought it, you're probably looking at it probably about another $100 just for the tunic and then whatever for
Mm-hmm.
the tabards and everything else. So yeah, it's easily about a $300 costume just for a Jedi. You need the boots, you need the belt. It has to be
Yeah,
something accurate.
yeah. Because I have some friends who did stormtrooper armor,
Yeah.
and I don't know if they are still part of the 501st, but I know that they're if but I do know that their costumes were 501st accurate.
Hmm.
Um, I I've not looked into it. I'm not really a cosplayer myself. Like I have like a lot of cool pieces. Like that there's my Disney saber right over here, which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. It is definitely not built for combat. It's not. That's not what the piece was meant for. Right? It's
Hmm.
I I will say that I think the blade that I've given is comparable to my old Force Effects lightsaber because I have the old Anakin Force Effects lightsaber, and I
Okay.
that sucker could take a beating pretty decently and not
Compared to
be
some
compromised.
carbon
Yeah.
plastic that I'm trying to see if I have a blade. I thought I had a blade under this seat. Apparently I don't. Hold on, let me grab
somebody
it. I might
somebody
be right
stole
about
my
this.
lightsaber stash.
Yeah, yeah, no. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, go grab it. I'll run this for a second. Hi everybody, how's it going? This is the Ghastly Show. I'm Jordan Ghastly. Danny and I have been talking for almost 3 hours about a whole bunch of cool stuff. How are you tonight? I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe, and I hope you're all washing your hands. So, yeah, this is my office. This is where I film vlogs. This right here is an art piece. It's a Dorito that looks like Danny DeVito. I call him Danny Dorito. Hey, Danny's
All
back.
right. Oh, your Danny Dorito. That thing was hilarious.
Yeah, I got that at that convention, that my buddy's small
That
comic
was
convention. So
like this is the Ultra Saber blade. So,
okay,
I mean, you see how thick it is.
yeah, like
You know,
that's made for a good
I mean,
thrashing.
you could tell right there what kind of abuse this thing this took.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's just marks all up and down it. Actually, this was actually my blade for a show at the Coney Island Cyclones game that we did. We had at the end of
Nice.
we had like this huge. It was a whole big battle that we had on the baseball field. It was actually really cool. So
Nice.
yeah.
I yeah, I haven't I almost bought an Ultra Saber. Like I was kind of teetering back and forth on whether or not I wanted to get one. But then whenever like the whole thing with Savi's and the Savi workshop came together and I saw that you can actually craft your own lightsaber, I was like, okay, that's something that I'm definitely going to want to take part in. But yeah, again, you're absolutely right. They're not really built for like long term
Right. I
action.
mean, you
Um,
can get a Ultra Sabers mystery box for like $50, and you're gonna get though, or
right,
the blade
right,
color or the hilts. I mean, if you're up to taking a chance on it, you may get. I mean, I don't really think they're really pink sabers out, but I mean,
right.
realistically, all you got
I
to
mean,
do
50
besides
bucks is
Beyblade,
isn't bad.
or if you didn't do is one of they sell these as day blades, so it's just a color blade that
Mm-hmm.
like I have a blue one like this, so I can take with the day blade, without having to light up
That's
the
cool.
saber. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I yeah, again, I almost pulled the trigger on one, um, but just the concept of like having being part of like that entire experience of constructing it, I was like, man, I've got to do that. So I used the money
Okay,
that I
I get
was
it.
going to do that towards that. Yeah, I I will say there were some people whenever like later that night there were some people like smacking their lightsabers around in front of the Millennium Falcon, and they weren't holding back. Like they were kind of going at each other. Some dude actually went out and
Nice.
dropped the money on two Darth Mauls, and he put them
Really?
together and was spinning it around. And what was really cool is that he and the buddy he was sparring with,
Uh huh.
they hit their blades, but they were pushing their blades on each other, and the blades were actually crackling. Like
Lock up.
they would sense that they were locked
They're
up,
locked up.
and I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I get it. But for me, like if you see one of these things, I'm heavy. Where it's you literally hear the crack of this thing like
Mm-hmm.
across a field. So I was trying for a while to bring Saber Guild down here to Georgia. It's just I didn't have anybody interested in lightsaber sparring for some reason. I'm like, you're missing out on an awesome opportunity here to get together once a
Mm-hmm.
week and swing a lightsaber around and like I don't know what you're talking. I don't know. I just don't know what you guys are missing out on here. But hey,
Hey man, hey, never say never. You never know if it'll eventually happen. Maybe start your own guild.
I was trying to do. That's what I was trying.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs the YouTube channel to take it.
Hey man.
Thinking that because you'd be surprised on some of these fights you can put together.
I've seen a lot of cool videos. I've never actively kind of gone out of my way to learn like saber choreography. It's a cool concept and something I would definitely be interested in if I could find time to fit it into my schedule. Um,
I know.
but no, just like the idea of holding a lightsaber, twirling it right, and getting used to the weight of it, so you can kind of like know how to it flows and it swings and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Just doing that Obi-Wan, you know, promotion with it. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It looks really cool. But well, we've been on almost 3 hours. That's crazy.
Damn, it has been, man.
That's
Time
crazy.
flies when you're having fun, man.
Like, we can continue these, every once in a while. We're good with this. The Atlanta
Hey, man. I
YouTube therapy session for people here.
Yeah, like I clearly I don't have a lot going on at the moment.
I don't either. I don't either. I don't mind. I don't mind entertaining people with our geek.
Hey, man, that's what I'm here for. Like, it's also kind of like why I started the YouTube channel to begin with, just because I was like, I need to go and do something. I need to get out of the house.
Yep. So your intro music, what's that from?
Oh, that's actually a snippet from a Dr. John song. Dr. John, famous
Okay.
New Orleans musician, and it's from his first album that came out in '69. So kind of like going back to whenever I was talking about New Orleans and how it's like this really interesting cultural mix of different religions and cultures. His first album called Gree Gree is very much proof of that, because it's very much a rhythm and blues album, but it's got like a lot of African drum beats on it, and Uh, a lot of Creole dialect in it as well, and that was a snippet from a Dr. John song on the first album. And I only
Okay.
used like a 3-second snippet because I think that's what I can get away with without getting a copyright strike onto it.
Right.
um, but I'm actually kind of thinking that I want to record if I can find something or come up with a cool like guitar riff or something. I would like to re-record my intro. But
Very catchy.
the
I'll
song
tell you that.
that's
It's very, very catchy.
oh thanks man, I appreciate it. Yeah, all props to Dr. John. It's one of those things whenever I was making when I finally decided to put in the intro,
Yeah.
um, I wanted something that for like lack of better phrase, like something that meant something to me, and being from New Orleans and not being able to actually grow up in New Orleans, but having that like being from that area, like I really wanted something like that part of me to be as the intro. And I thought a quick 3 or 4 second music clip, and that's the song I chose. And no one has said it yet, or has given me, or YouTube hasn't given me any issues yet using it. So I'm hoping that it doesn't continue, or it continues to not be an issue. But it's a Dr. John song.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's
So
definitely very, very. It works. It really does. You know, with your videos, what you know, what you do, it just works with you and your style. So.
oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's gonna bug me because I'm
No.
sitting here like gushing over this song, and now I can't remember the name of the song. It's Dance Fambo
Dance
is what it's
Fambo.
called. Yeah, that entire first album of Dr. John's is great, man. Like you know, everybody really associates like his big hits like Right Place Wrong Time. But man, if you go back, like because he was a session musician back in the 50s and the early 60s. He played on a lot of
Mhm.
really popular New Orleans soul and rhythm and blues records. And and he's probably played on a lot of songs that you're familiar with. um there's a oh man, let me gush on this for a second just because I love telling the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you familiar? You're familiar with Elvira, right?
I sure am.
I absolutely love Elvira.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's my favorite. Oh
Yep.
my god, love Elvira. So New Orleans, but you remember Elvira? Like her entire thing was that she had a show and she hosted the Saturday Night
Yes.
Horror Movie, and she
Yes.
was the bumper to and from. Yeah. So New
Yeah.
Orleans had our own Elvira, and it was a guy, and his name was Morgus the
No. Oh
Magnificent.
God. Yes.
So Morgus actually existed.
Yep.
Morgus existed has existed longer than Elvira has existed. So he was doing it
Mhm.
before Elvira was a thing. Um,
Right.
and again, he played this mad scientist, and he had this lab assistant who was dressed up like an executioner, and his name was Chopsley.
Mhm.
And but same concept. Saturday Night Horror Movie. Morgus would be the host, and he would be your lead in to and from the commercials. And his show ran forever, like till the early '90s. And
Yep.
in the '60s, there was a song written about him that was really big in New Orleans, and it was called just Morgus the Magnificent. And the band, it was one of those studio bands that were just put together to record this one song, and then that was it. And I take it back, they actually recorded 2 songs. It was Morgus and the Ghouls is what it was called. But Dr. John was part of this band, and I think he helped write the songs as well. Um,
Right.
and it's a really kicking song. Like if you like sit like '60s gritty garage rock stuff, like stuff that's not quite punk rock yet, that's what this band is.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
Sorry, I went on a tangent. I get really excited about things and then I just go for it.
We had John, what's his name? Zachary, I believe it was his name was, up in New York. He just recently died in like 2016 for our late night horror host. He did Philadelphia also.
Nice. I have to look into him. Like, there's a lot of those cool local horror hosts. You know, obviously Elvira
Yeah.
probably being the biggest one, along with Joe Bob Briggs.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were awesome. You know, you never really watched it for the movie because the movie was always some cheesy B, lame movie that you did not, you know, like Attack of the 1,000-Foot Woman or something, and
Yeah. And obviously
yeah,
edited for television, right? You can't get away with a lot of that stuff on,
yeah,
especially then.
no. And then Elvira comes out, "Whoa, that was scary!" Like, no, that really wasn't. But okay.
But Elvira, you're giving me the hard sell, and I will listen to anything you say because
Yeah.
I love Elvira.
Than her movies. And
Yeah, not the greatest.
her car was always the best too.
Oh man, that was a good car.
What was it? What was her name? Christine or something like that. The name of the car or something.
Cassandra Peterson.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, and that thing's still around too. She still drives it around.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she's still doing Elvira too, man. More power to her.
Hey, did you go to the what was it? The Days of the Dead convention?
No, I didn't. It's really funny because every year I'm like, I'm gonna go because it always happens on the weekend of my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And the last few years I'm like, I'm gonna go, and then I'm out of town for my birthday.
Yeah, we went this year, and let me tell you, you missed the fight. The Blair's uh, um, representatives.
Oh,
He like
oh, really?
freaked out in the no more pictures, no more. We have to catch a flight. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Buddy.
Like I was trying to get her. There's a whole animal uh, organization and stuff. You know, whole animal
Mm-hmm.
charity. So I was trying to talk to her about that and try to catch not even anything to benefit me, but to benefit her and her organization. But no film. Turn the camera off, please. Come near. He like literally was coming at me like this. I'm like, do me a favor, back up. I said no. I said you back up. Camera just as like just as like let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, no. He's
yeah.
touching my equipment. No.
No, we have an issue. Like homeboy's coming at me. He's about to catch some hands. Like,
Don't touch my camera. I don't care who
yeah.
you are. I was gonna ask her a question. We're not doing this for charity. I go, but you see that sign up there? She's doing this for charity. She has to talk about. And she was willing. It was him. I was like, you know what? Have a nice day.
Yeah, eh.
Ended up meeting Felix. What's his name? From that did Cousin It.
Oh, nice.
If you ever run into this man and have a conversation with him, he will talk to you about anything and everything for free.
Good to know.
Yeah, he is upset with Star Wars Celebration because they have not invited him back. He doesn't like read pop the way they do in the celebration. This, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, some of the things I'll tell you when we're done with the stream. Some of the things he was telling me about it was happening around Atlanta that he did not like. I was like,
Okay.
I can't put this on my channel, Felix. I can't do that.
This is all great information. Can't go on the channel.
Me information about everything that was going on in the area. I was like, oh my gosh, Felix, we can't talk. That was my second time meeting him. I met him up in New York. He's a great guy. He was he was a flying Ewok. He was the flying Ewok in Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah, the one on the glider.
Yep, that was him.
Nice.
That was him. But I think 3 hours, 12:30. I think we're good, huh?
I think we're good, man.
I think we're good.
It flew by, my dude.
Oh,
Before we end though, I just want to say thank you so much for asking me to come on your live stream, man. That was really awesome, and I had a really good time.
I have a feeling we're gonna turn this into some kind of show. I think because I'm here, and I'm liking, and you know, even
I'm into
it's
it.
like the horror show or something. We'll definitely we'll work this out. We'll work this out because this is the
We'll make something happen.
some awesome interaction. Yeah, exactly. Get you going more here. It's a lot better when you actually have somebody interacting with you too, right?
Exactly.
But guys, we appreciate you all being here tonight. Awesome. This was awesome. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm no, I don't.
That's okay.
So I will plug a couple places where you can find me though. So obviously the first and foremost is my vlog. Just go up to YouTube, Jordan Ghastly. I know one of the moderators of this chat has been sharing the link. Jonathan, yeah, thank you so much. There it is. And I do a couple of podcasts. I do a Disney themed podcast with my buddies Jake, Josh, and Robbie, and we're called the Mickey Mutineers. It's definitely not a family show. We definitely drop some F-bombs and we go on rants, so it's definitely not one for the kiddos. And I do a podcast with my very good buddy Jeremy from the Magic Geekdom YouTube page. And it's called the Magic Ghastly Power Hour. So Magic from the Magic Kingdom and Ghastly from Jordan Ghastly. And I just thought Power Hour was a funny title. So we just, Jeremy and I, it's for Jeremy and I to hop on Skype and talk to each other for an hour. And if we have a topic, we have a topic. If not, we just kind of record what's been going on and we toss it up as a podcast. So, but those are the three places where you can mainly find me. I should have a new video coming up hopefully next week.
Right. It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen. I mean, unlike me, I don't even know what I got a backlog of stuff. I think I found some hidden Disney.
Oh.
I got some POVs. I mean, I'm thinking.
Go for it, man.
Mountain POV. Yeah.
Hey now.
Making enough POVs. And I found a whole bunch of stuff from Animal Kingdom.
Ooh. Favorite ride in Animal Kingdom? What is it?
Well, pre Pandora or now?
Nope. As it is right now. As it is right now. Just.
I see. That's hard because you got Flight of Passage and you have Everest.
There's only one correct answer between those two. No, I'm kidding. They're both very good. They're both great. I love because I mean, what else are you gonna make a fast pass for, right? You're going flat. Okay,
Exactly.
okay. I'm sticking with Expedition Everest. I love Flight of Passage. That is a damn good ride. Still love Expedition though.
Yeah. I mean, I have to with Everest. Honestly, probably more. If I gave me the choice, and I had to choose one fast pass, I would probably go with Everest.
Yeah.
I'm bypassing Dinosaur because I'm so sick and tired of that ride. It's so rough.
That's fair.
For no reason.
That's fair.
Realistically, this is my lineup in Animal Kingdom. We walk in the park, we go to Everest, we go to Pandora, and we leave.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Buddy, we are going to have a very long talk about Animal Kingdom next time.
yeah. Yeah. Up in the Bronx. I had the Bronx Zoo.
Fair. Fair. Fair.
So I think that'll be the next topic is the parks in Disney then.
Yeah.
We could definitely do
Sounds
that.
like a plan.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. But guys, we appreciate you guys coming in. As usual, you know how stream. So have an awesome, awesome night, guys. And you know what's coming next.